Hello everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the System Magic Twitch stream. As always, we're your hosts. My name's Greg, this is Andrew, and we are live for our first ever System Magic pre-release limited set review, where we're going to be sharing some of our thoughts about the upcoming Lost Caverns of Ixalan limited format. But rather than doing a more traditional set review that you might see in other podcasts or other limited content creators' content, we're going to be doing this through the series of a prop bet sheet. Essentially meaning that we have set up a bunch of kind of A versus B or A versus B versus C questions, and Andrew and I pre-stream have answered them all, and we're going to be going through and sharing our thoughts. And of course, you can fill out your own version of the sheet. And the best way to do that is I'm going to put this exclamation point prop bets in the chat. You should be able to click on that link to play along and fill out our... Oh, this was all me, by the way, Zach.
I would like to say that I approved the idea.
Yes.
But it is a very Andrew-friendly idea. So
it's also a really Greg-friendly idea, to be clear.
Well, let me put it this way. One of us is known for betting on topics.
I love betting for no stakes on topics.
That is true.
I'm really into betting for no stakes.
Yeah, I'm really into betting for stakes.
Yeah, but yeah, if you click that link, you should be taken to the form. If you want to fill it out, you can also do it as we go. Also, on that link, the first thing will be a link to this PowerPoint, which has card images and stuff. And so if you want to follow along and see, because, you know, it's pre-release, you might not know what all the cards do, and so you might want to also open the PowerPoint in a separate window so you can see a list of all the cards. So for example, just kind of jumping ahead, the PowerPoint has a lot of, you know, things like this.
It shows you the cards.
It shows you the cards, which, you know, you probably don't know all the card names. Yeah, I mean, look, you can use whatever metrics you like. I won't stop you.
If you would like to pick them alphabetically first card in each of them, you may execute this strategy.
Yep. And so how this is going to work is the answers will be determined using the 17 lands game in hand win rate, which obviously data isn't perfect. You know, sometimes data doesn't give us the complete picture, but for the sake of this form, we will be determining the winner based on which card has the better data, and we're going to wait 1 month from set release. So the set release is on November 14th, so things will be final December 14th. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, all these links will be obviously in the video description, and so you can just check below if you want to go ahead and fill out your form. We'll probably close it, I don't know, maybe around the 14th.
We'll close it when we close it.
We'll close it when we close it, yeah.
But, yeah, I think the 14th is a reasonable estimate.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, so, and to talk about this,
Oh yeah, there also might be. Wait, is River Herald? No, River Herald Scout is a common explorer.
No, that's the River Herald.
That's River Herald. That one's right. Water Wind Scout is not does not explore when it ETVs. It makes a map when it ETVs.
Yeah,
very different.
So yeah, and okay, you know, I'll say up front, like we already know that, like, you know, game in hand win rate as a metric has some limitations. Mostly related to the fact that games of Magic are of different lengths. Yeah, basically. And I think that there's some data suggesting the real metric you want to be using is a weighted game-in-hand win rate depending on the average number of turns that archetype plays. All of that's fair. We're just using game-in-hand win rate for this, so keep that in mind. Yeah. If you want to let that alter your answers very slightly, you can feel free. But I don't think the bias will have that large an effect, and I still think that of the 17 lands metrics, the closest to generic goodness is game-in-hand win rate.
I completely agree.
So, anyways... I just wanted to give that caveat up front so everybody knows the deal. And yeah, you know, you can do whatever you want. And yeah, I don't know exactly where this is going to take us. Greg and I haven't exactly talked over where we stand on things in advance, so we're gonna see where this goes. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's possible we answered the same for a lot of the questions. It's possible our takes wildly disagree.
Yeah, we're not really sure.
Also, feel free to at your favorite limited content creator that's not us and encourage them to fill out the form. Hey, just got here. Any caveats you should know up front to know the deal? Not really. You can check the link here. I'll put it in the chat again if you want to fill out the prop bet sheet on your own. Or you can just follow along as we do it. Best of 1, I believe, is where it gets its data from.
Yeah,
Good
no,
question.
you can get either for 17 wins.
Oh, we'll use best of 1.
But I believe our intent is to use best of 1, mostly because I just think the sample size is massively larger, so it's much more like legitimate. Is kind of my opinion.
Yeah.
It's still not flawlessly legitimate, but I think it's definitely better.
Yeah.
So and you can also, if you want to take into account whatever you believe the BO1 bias are, that's fine too. The way I kind of feel about this is like, it's like hard enough that like I think anyone's ability to do this well and also taking into account that stuff is like not high.
Yeah, agree.
That's my stance. Like I tried to do this like where I just like read all the cards in the set and I did this. I spent a little time, not a ton of time, just looking at the set and trying to make predictions about the win format in advance. And my opinion is it's very difficult. So like the idea that like first the idea that what I'm gonna do is first figure out my actual predictions and then try to alter them to suit the BO1 game in hand win rate format is, I think, basically beyond human ability. So I'm not very worried about it. But if you'd like to take into account, feel free. Maybe that level of precision will help you. I don't know.
Also, yeah, notably, if you don't know what the cards do, there is a link at the top of the form to this spreadsheet, to this Google Slides presentation, which has all the card pictures that you could possibly need. And so be sure to use that if you would like to access to the images. Anyway, I think we should get started.
Yeah, okay.
I think we should kind of say that a few more times as people filter in.
That's
but
fine.
I think I'm kind of ready to talk about our first question.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to start off by kind of going through some of the main mechanics in the set. And so Explore is back from Limited. For those who don't know, when you explore, here it says you reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, you draw it. If it's a non-land, you can either keep it on top, bin it, and the creature that explores will get a counter. And there are exactly 3 common creatures that explore when they ETB. We have the Pathfinding Axedraw, the River Herald Guide, and the River Herald Scout. So prop bet question number 1 is, which of these 3 cards is best? Andrew, you want to start us off with some analysis?
Yeah, so this one I think is one of our more clear questions, which is I think the answer is just River Herald Scout. Mostly because it costs 2.
Yeah.
And I also think that this card existed in black in original Ixalan, like this card exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I recall it being quite good in limited. I mean, a 2-mana 2/3 for limited is obviously a pretty good card. A 2-mana 1/2 that draws a card is a pretty decent card. Yeah, like I think it just is the heuristic of the cheapest is best. And I think my ranking of them is likely Scout, Axejaw, Guide is my guess. I'm not sure of that, but that's my guess. Just because Axejaw, like, I mean, obviously a 4-mana 5/4 is kind of messed up, actually. If you end up getting a counter, which you will like half the time. And yeah, but overall, I also just think, I don't know, like, Scout is just like, it's not that far off 2-mana 1/2 draw a card, which is just like excellent, obviously. So yeah, that's kind of my stance. I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna. So I think we're not gonna move things around. The River Herald Scout's a 1/2. Actually, most of the questions on most of the slides I checked, our faces won't block anything, but this one it happens to. It's just a 1/2 that explores when it ETBs. Sorry about that awkwardness. Okay, first I want to say something about Explore, which I've told Andrew, but I don't think I've said off screen. The Explore mechanic is very popular among limited players, and I don't get it. I hate the Explore mechanic. What I hate about the Explore mechanic is that they often design the cards, and I'm not sure these 3 are the best examples, but they're somewhat examples, where the counter really matters. They want the counter to matter. And when I see a card like River Herald Scout, like, I'm imagining there are going to be a lot of games where, like, I'm blue, I'm on the draw, my opponent leads on some sort of 2-mana 2/2, and I play River Herald Scout. And if I get the counter, I'm in a great spot. I have a 2/3 against their 2/2. If I don't get the counter, I'm in a really rough spot because I have a 1/2 against their 2/2. And, okay, sure, I drew an extra card, but, like, I feel like you reach situations where, like, what you hit off the Explore totally warps the course of the game. It can happen either way. Like, maybe you really desperately need to draw a land, you don't hit it, and the counter happens to not matter in this spot. Like, they're gonna kill your guy anyway. Like, I just hate that there's, like, this. Explore is a high variance mechanic in my opinion. Both things are good, and I dislike this. And, okay, I remember Seeker Squire from original Ixalan. I remember Seeker Squire being kind of mid.
Interesting.
And a lot of time has passed.
Well, that's true.
And I was kind of thinking about River Herald Scout, and I was like, more often than not, this is going to be a 2-mana 2/3, which isn't a good card in 2023. Like, it's fine, but it's not that good.
I think that sells 2-mana 2/3 short.
Yeah, maybe.
We still play plenty of Grizzly. Like, think about the last one. We still play plenty of Grizzly Bears.
There are quite a lot of Grizzly Bears. Anyway, my hot take is that I voted for Axejaw here.
Okay. I think it's reasonable for Axejaw. I'm just worried that, like, okay, I feel like this thing happens in a lot of formats where we like start the format, we're like, oh yeah, like this 4-drop seems pretty good, and then later on we're like, this other 4-drop seems pretty good, and then we're like, this other 4-drop seems pretty good, and then we eventually come around to, yeah, I don't know, you can kind of need some 4-drops that can kind of be any of them, and I'm just worried that will happen again.
Yeah, I totally...
That's my primary fear.
I agree that the 4-drop, the glutting of 4-drops is a big thing going against the Axejaw, but I think River Herald Scout is overrated. Like, I actually, after filling this out, went to kind of look at what some other people were saying, and people fucking loved River Herald Scout, and I just, like, didn't get their argument. You either, like, draw a land and get a mostly useless thing, or you get a 2/3, which I don't think is that good.
Well, that's fair, but like also like
and most importantly, you don't get to pick.
Well, okay, but something to keep in mind too is when you hit a spell, you also may be proccing the Descend.
That is true.
Is the mechanic of blue-black, and in general, a thing that blue cards frequently care about. So like, I don't know. I think that it's like Seeker Square, I think, had less synergies than River Scout does as well.
Totally true, but if that's the case, I somewhat want to curve my Descend guys into my Explore guys. Which,
it depends on the Descend guy.
Yeah.
Like certainly, like there's some stuff that like just procs off the raw number of stuff in your yard.
That's true.
Like for example, the black common kill spell that like, God, it would be great if I knew the names of cards. That gives something -3/-3 or a big
-5/-5 or -10/-10.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Right, like I think that's Join the Dead. Yeah.
Join the Dead, yeah.
Yeah, Join the Dead. Like, it doesn't matter if you curve all your Explore things, then play Join the Dead. You'll still kill whatever you want to kill.
Definitely, yeah.
So, like, that's like kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
But anyway, I might be wrong.
I like the numbers on this card a lot, too. Like, just like...
Well, 4-mana 4/3 is already solid.
4-mana 4/3 solid. 4-mana 4/3 draw a land, like, is, I think, quite a good card. 4-mana 5/4 is quite good. You know, sometimes the Explore ability is a little better later in the game because you have, you know, drawing lands are more likely to be dead draws, so getting them off the top of your deck is nice. You have more knowledge about what you want and what you don't want, so with the Surveil, like... I get that this is a hot take, and most limited content creators like these two cards more, but I'm on Team Axejaw.
Well, to be clear, I didn't rank them that way.
Oh, I know.
I ranked them Scout, Axejaw, Guide very intentionally. I think Guide is just too terrible.
Okay, I also think Guide is pretty bad.
But yeah, we'll see.
But I just like Guide is just gonna be a 3-mana 4/2 most of the time. Like a lot of the time, and like
a 3-mana 4/2 just they're gonna trade for their Grizzly Bear. Like, I'm not into that.
Like there have been so many.
Why does it have vigilance? Like what do I care about the vigilance on this card? Is there some joke? I tried to figure out if there was some joke I wasn't getting with the vigilance. Like, oh, it's synergized with this. But as far as I can tell, the card just randomly has vigilance.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Levi, that's a perfectly reasonable take. But yeah, I guess as we are finishing this conversation, my caution as you're playing this format is I think people tend to, when they see the word Explore, they said, oh, this is like a card that draws a card. And Explore is a lot worse than draw a card.
Well, that's true. I mean, I do agree with that. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting discussion. We can keep going. Yeah, and I guess another question that is I think related to this is like, what do we think the terms of engagement of the format are like?
Absolutely.
Because like, so something that I was thinking about, right, is like, so okay, like, and this is the thing I think about. This is something I think about every set, and I think it relates to this, which is like, okay, like, what do the mechanics promote and what do they not promote? If that makes sense. And something I was thinking about, for example, is okay, map tokens, right?
Yeah.
Map tokens really are not fans of blocking.
Yeah.
And they're especially not fans, in fact, of trading. What map tokens want is for you to either attack or chump.
Yeah.
Like, that's the dynamic of map tokens, because if you block their 2/2 with a 2/2 and they map and hit, you're, like, fucked.
Wait, you can only map as a sorcery.
Oh, wait. Is that true?
Yes.
Oh, crap. I did not realize that.
Maps are not just on-board combat tricks. Yeah. They don't do that anymore.
That makes a lot of sense, man. I guess I should have done more research. I was too busy like reading craft and digging into the weeds and all this stuff. Anyways, all right. Well,
let's just go on to the next one, shall we? If you're just getting here, this is our... wait, is that the second one? I guess it is.
Yeah, that's the second one.
We are doing our System Magic limited set review through a series of prop bets. You can fill out your own sheet in the link that's in the chat. Slash has been appearing a lot. And we're just going to be making predictions on the set. And so here's our next question. So we have a cycle of common land cycling dinosaurs that allow you to cycle. We last saw something like this in March of the Machines. It was, I believe, quite good for limited. And they're back. They're all dinosaurs. And I don't know. I guess you started last time?
You can start.
Okay, I picked the black one as my choice. No, not because it's black. I tried to not do that in the thing.
You can do that.
I think it's a perfectly reasonable. I mean, mostly I picked... Well, I like the green one the most, but I kind of just feel like 6 is so much less than 7.
It is.
That my thought is that I think the best one will be one of the 6 drops. Just because, like, especially if you're, like, land cycling, like, you have some land cyclers in your deck, like, if you have 7 drops, that there's, like, weird tension there. And so I really wanted to pick one of the 6 drops as one of my favorite. And I think of the 6 drops, I think the black one is the best. I think we've seen this ability in some recent sets, and I feel like it always overperforms and pushes a lot more damage than you would think, because you get a free attack and it's 2 more. And I, like, really like playing this, hitting for a bunch of damage, and then having a really threatening 5/6 that they have to answer. Like, I think this is going to play really, really nicely.
Is a 5/6 really threatening?
I mean,
maybe.
Okay, it's as threatening as any of the others are.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if you just, like, if you've been at all aggressive and you play this and you hit him for a lot, or a chunk, hit him for 3 or 4 even, like,
See, I was wondering about the implications of, like, the black one to descend.
Yeah, okay.
Like, it's one of the arguments for the black one that, like you care more about descend-related stuff on the black and the blue one than on the rest of them.
And green. Just
and green, sure, that's fair. I thought it was centered in blue-black, but maybe that's not true.
I mean, the black-green signpost is...
I guess that's true. Okay, so like, maybe that's an argument against the red and white ones kind of generically.
Yeah.
Also, I guess red and white, like, are probably less interested in just, like, ever playing these bodies.
Yeah.
And, like, taking a turn off to land cycles bad in your aggro decks. My sort of opinion, which I think is not that far from Greg's, is that I looked at them and I was like, I'm just not sure that the white and red ones are good at all, period.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think it's I'm less worried about the 6/7 drop thing. I'm more worried about, like, does this archetype even want this thing?
Yeah.
Is kind of the angle I came at it from. And to be clear, what I actually submitted, given this, I actually submitted Nurturing Bristleback. I submitted the green.
Okay. Oh, the green.
And the reason I did this is, well, I looked at the set and I was like, okay, like, well, first of all, I noticed that Poison Dart Frog is a common.
That's true.
And Poison Dart Frog is pretty fucking strong, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I think that as Mana Dorks go, that one's nice.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, well, if I'm playing Mana Dorks in 7 drops, we might be onto something here. And I was like, you're telling me the green 7 drop also just is a built-in 2-for-1? Like, I'm kind of in.
Yeah.
And then as we discussed the Sultai colors of the Descend synergies, green is one of those. So that's eventually how I came around to Nurturing Bristleback. I mean, I think you're right that Rampagic's like Spike Tail will push damage. It's just that, like, I'm really worried that on 6 I care about that less.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that the red one being able to draw cards is interesting. I mean, we did see that the It's Mine Giant really overperformed with a similar ability. I'm not sure how much of the strength that ability was being able to sack treasures versus not. I definitely think it is possible that Seismic Monster Store will end up surprising us.
Yeah. Also, green-red is dino themed.
Right.
And so the fact that it's a dinosaur might be relevant.
And in fact, I think it's a classic green-red, like, big-is creatures but attacking sort of theme.
Yeah.
Is the vibe I get. Which, like, I don't know, a 6/5 trample that might draw you a few cards, like, that does kind of play nicely into. So I can see it. Mostly my main worry about the red one is just that, like, again, my red decks won't ever want to Mountain Cycle.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't want to pay 2 to Mountain Cycle in those decks, and that fact alone will mostly make me not want to play the card.
Yeah.
But I'm not too sure. It's hard to assess. It's very different from the Lord of the Rings land cycles that only cost 1. I mean, 2 is a lot.
Yeah.
Is the fact to just emphasize here.
Yeah. And notably, all of these are double pipped, so you can't do the thing of like for example, the Alabaster Host Interceptor in Mom. Sometimes you would just like splash it off itself.
Yes.
You'd have 2 or 3 copies. But you definitely can't do that with these ones.
Well, I think that was a bug, not a feature. I'm glad they fixed it.
Sure. Yes.
Hello, Don. Welcome to the Prop Bet stream.
But yeah, I think the green one is it's. I was deciding between black and green for sure.
I mean,
and
I only picked it because of the number of ramps.
Sure.
There's also the craft green common, which also ramps.
Yep.
And then I was like, I don't know, Explorer will help you hit a few land drops here and there.
That's true.
Like, I don't think Explorer is a huge effect, but it's, a thing I considered.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think getting to 7 is a little more doable than it normally is. And just a 5 out of 3 is very strong.
Yeah. I mean, I do like, there is a black uncommon raise dead effect.
Mm.
And I predict this is like the best thing, one of the best things you can raise dead into.
That makes sense.
That was the thing that almost made me pick green over black was that, like, I bet that's a real deck.
Yeah.
Like, once you have one of those, like, this card just gets much, much, much better.
Another question, by the way, I have about the black one is, okay, like, I get that, like, so, for example, if you go back to, like, Kalsheim, there was a 5-mana 4/4 that gave 2 things plus one indestructible from EOT when entered. And the point of it was that red-black, like, aggro was, like, a real archetype.
Yeah.
And one of my worries about Rampaging Spiketail is it's not clear to me how much attacking black does in this format.
That's true. It does seem a little slow.
It does, I mean, it's limited. All the decks will be mid-range.
Right.
Certainly not, I'm not saying the ability's irrelevant, but it might not get as much value as it sometimes would because of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just justifying my green pick.
Oh, for sure.
I think the Rampaging Spiketail is obviously a reasonable answer.
Yeah.
I basically think that it's very unlikely to be Soaring Sandwing.
Yeah.
Is my take. I picked Soaring Sandwing to be 5th.
Yeah.
And I sort of think that the other 4 are all reasonably competitive.
Yeah. I was also wondering, like, green fatties are a little more more prevalent.
That is
which
true.
is another thing that I thought about is just like, you might like, for example, there is a 6-mana Dino in green. And now it's obviously worse than this because it doesn't have forest cycling, but just like, I don't think there are many other black fatties, and so another thing I thought about was kind of the uniqueness of this, that like you might really want one of these in your black decks to have a top end, where in your green decks, you might be able to take or leave the bristleback.
That's fair. That's fair. Interesting.
Yeah. I also, when I first wrote this, I expected I would pick the green one. And then as I was kind of making my final decision, I kind of last minute pivoted to black, and I'm happy.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how it plays out.
All right.
Interesting discussion.
2 questions in, we haven't agreed yet, which I love.
I don't know how much we will or will not agree.
I was a little worried we'd agree on every question.
Hitting sentence speeds. Well, again, that is part of the argument in general for the Sultai 3.
Yeah.
And Greg's process of picking one of the other 3 that costs 6 does support that.
Yeah, that's the main reason I picked it is because it's one of the Sultai 3 that costs 6.
All right.
Also, I will note, it seems like the most aggressive deck in this format might be green-white, not red-white.
Oh, interesting.
Like just looking at the signposts and commons, which we'll get to in a minute, but like the red-white one is pointing to a little bit more of like a mid-range artifact tappy thing.
That is true.
It's hard to know. Like, for example, in WoW, the signposts and commons weren't great predictors of their archetypes. Yeah. And so like it's hard to know for sure. There's certainly a lot of aggressive cards in both red and white. Anyway, the next mechanic we're going to talk about is the craft mechanic, where these are all artifacts that do something when they ETB, and then you can craft them by exiling the appropriate card type from either play or your graveyard, and then you flip it and get its backside. Notably, you can't see the green backside. It's just a 5/5.
It's a vanilla 5.
It's vanilla 5/5.
So okay. Yeah. Let's so I guess wait, am I going? It's my turn to go first.
It's your turn to go first. Yeah.
So I'll describe my process on these. So the first thing about craft is, okay, notably these things don't all craft with the same thing.
Yeah.
And I believe that to be quite important. For example, so the white and blue ones both craft with an artifact. And I understand that the white-blue theme is artifacts, and there's quite a few artifacts around.
Yeah.
But it is much harder to get an artifact into play or into the graveyard than it is to get a creature. Caves, I'm not so sure where they rank, but I imagine probably harder? I think probably the hardest of all of them is my guess.
That's my guess too, yeah.
So when I looked at these, I was kind of like I'm just worried that I'm going to play games where I'm going to cast Oteshan Landmark or whatever, and then like I'm not going to have an artifact, or I will have an artifact, but I won't want to craft it. You know, I want it to stick around. Like it's like a 2/2 creature and it's getting attacks and like and just like, you know, I'm trying to like curve out into this like aggressive thing that gives attacking things flying, but then like I don't have an actual artifact I want to get rid of because my artifacts are all grizzly bears, they're doing me good work or whatever. So not sold on the white one. Similarly, not really sold on the blue one. I'm just worried that like I don't know, crafting with artifacts is annoying and hard. Is basically my general stance. And I did look through the set. I understand that, like, you know, there are map tokens, there are things that make colorless artifacts. I get all of that, but it still seems like it's going to cost me. And also, milling over them in white seems very hard. So I'm definitely dismissing white, and I'm going to dismiss blue too. I understand it's a little easier to mill over in blue, but I'm off it. The red one, mostly I just think 3-mana deal 2 to a creature is an awful rate. And I get that it flips into an equipment that's like pretty decent or whatever. But
it's not even that decent. It's like 3 mana for this equipment is, I think, a pretty bad rate too.
Yeah, so here's what I eventually came to. I came to Tithing Blade. Tithing Blade comes in, makes a sack creature. It's very easy to craft with. You can get it. Getting a creature in the graveyard in black is pretty easy. Also, getting a random worthless creature in play at some point by turn 5 is pretty easy. And Ill-Gotten Gains, which is basically what the backside is a pretty good limited card. Like, the idea of play it on 2, they sack the Grizzly Bear, at some point I'll flip it into this thing. Just like when I'm ready, no rush, and then just start getting value turn to turn. Pretty appealing. I think Tithing Blade is kind of the strongest.
Yeah. All right, so this will be our first agreement. I also picked Tithing Blade. Mostly, okay, I was trying, as I was doing Ill-Gotten Inheritance.
That's right, yeah, sorry.
Ill-Gotten Gains is the Dominion card.
It's also a magic card, but it's like a legacy card.
Sure,
anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, I kind of, as I was analyzing this, I started to realize that craft is kind of like flashback.
It is, yeah.
Like, these are kind of like spells with a weird restrictive flashback cost. Or maybe like Aftermath is the better analog. But like, you know, like you could think of it as they do something, and then at some point you'll flash them back for the back half. And when I realized that, I like went so far down on the white one, like, I kind of hate the white one.
I think the white one seems really bad.
I think the white one is the worst by far. Like, I feel like you really want to play Pegasus Courser on 3, and like, you just won't have an artifact to craft on turn 3, and I feel like by the time you get it out, it'll be doing nothing, and its ETB effect is very much not worth a card. Like,
yes.
At least the blue one, like, mill a card and draw, like, at least, you know, it's kind of like playing Prophetic Prism on 2, and like, the mill might be really relevant in Descend stuff, like, I actually believe in the blue one a lot more than you do. I think I'd rate it second.
Okay, to be clear, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
I think I have it third.
Okay, and the back half seems really strong to me.
To be clear, I think I have green in second.
Okay, I think I would put green in third.
Okay.
Mostly I'm worried about Craft with Cave.
That's legitimate.
Because I feel like, okay, there's this cute thing where you can use the, like, cascading caves, put them in your discard, and then craft with Cave. But that's so much mana and so much time that I'm not a believer. Like, I think when you will almost always have to craft with a cave from play. And I know it's not too bad, but, yeah, I don't know.
It's sort of like if you're... But I do agree with your point, because if you're, like, flooded and you have a cave, like, your cave might solve your problem.
Exactly.
So, like, why are you turning it into a 5/5 instead of just, like, doing the Discover or whatever?
Yeah,
like,
and
it's not so clear that actually makes sense.
And sometimes you're just going to have this card and you won't find one of your caves, right? Like,
yeah.
I get that it helps to dig for them, but I'm just like, how many caves do you think need to be in your deck before you put this card in?
Well, but see, okay, that's actually not the question I'm asking.
Okay.
The question I'm asking is closer to how playable do you think a 3-mana ramp spell is?
Yeah.
Like, my question about the green one is less about that. Like, what if I say, like, at some point later I'll figure out a cave thing.
Sure.
It's not that big a deal, but I'm actually just not that interested in paying 3 mana and ramping. Especially because, like, I think someone was in chat, but, like, that doesn't look that aggressive to me.
Yeah.
In general, so I just think that, like, I might just be interested in doing that. And at, like, some point it'll become a 5/5. Like, I'll probably get my 2-for-1.
Yeah.
Like,
I kind of feel, I wonder if 2 mana mill a card, draw a card is just better than 3 mana put a land into play, though.
You might be right. I think the blue and green one are competitive.
Yeah.
I think the white one's the clear bottom one. I think
Yeah.
it's white is bottom one, then red, and I think green and blue are close, and I think black is best.
Okay, yeah. And, like, the black one is, I think just, like, I mean, okay, an Edict isn't the best, like, just this half of Ill-Gotten Inheritance isn't the best, but I think between the two of them, I think they make a card. And I like that the sacrifice kind of gets us closer to a board stall, and then once you've stalled the board, you can craft it, and this is a really good card to have on a board stall. Like,
yeah, I agree with that.
I think it's a great design, and I think I'm excited to play with it.
Well, also, another thing I was thinking about is like, okay, if you end up doing something else with the artifact, which there are a few other things to do, it is not offensive to me to play this, they sack a thing on 2, and then I end up just, like, tapping into one of the things that taps artifacts, or, like, doing some other thing with it.
Or Tithing Blade into craft one to... Oh, wait, no, they're craft with creature. That doesn't work. never mind.
You can't go through itself, but I basically think that the random artifact utility is something I like most on Tithing Blade.
Yeah.
Although I acknowledge that Invert Iceberg can do it a little too.
Sure.
Maybe you're selling me on Invert Iceberg being 2.
Yeah.
But anyway, we certainly agree that Tithing Blade is 1. I think that one's pretty clear.
Also, the back half on this is like pretty sweet. But anyway, I think we should keep going.
Yeah, I think that was a good discussion.
Yeah.
Oh god, so this one I really struggled with.
Yeah,
this is
I
one
did
of the hardest
too.
questions.
So I picked this because one, I noticed that each color had a 5-drop, and also I think it kind of showed off some of the mechanics we haven't talked about. So notably, this black one is a 5-mana 5/2 that when it dies you cascade 3. Discover is quote unquote fixed cascade. The blue and the green one each have descend 4 here. They trigger if you have 4 or more permanents in your graveyard. And then the red and the white one just kind of do stuff. The red one's just kind of a nice dinosaur. We've seen a lot of cards with this type of effect in sets recently. The white one gets you some value. The green one, you probably can't read it on the screen. It's a 5-mana 5/4 trample that when it attacks, if you've hit descend 4, you put a +1/+1 counter on any creature.
Yes.
Itself or otherwise.
Yeah, so I think this one was really difficult, mostly because the rates on these 5-drops are actually all pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't look at any of these and be like, wow, this one's a fucking stinker. Like, it's not really like that.
I agree, but also none of them are like, you'll never finish a draft and be like, oh, really wish I had one of these random common 5s. Like.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but that's just because they are 5s, I think.
Yeah.
But anyways, so you gotta go
it's
first.
my turn first. I picked the blue one.
Okay.
Mostly because I think it's just a pretty powerful. I think 5-mana 3/2 draw a card is a pretty good effect in blue and limited. I liked that, like, I don't know. I feel like this one's a little clunky. I feel like the green one's gonna die without doing anything a lot. I feel like the red one is like not that impressive. And the white one, you kind of have to work a little bit. Like, sometimes you might not be able to get a thing back. And I was like, I don't know, if this gets flying in the late game, that's pretty sweet. Otherwise, it's just kind of a built-in 2-for-1, and I love 2-for-1s. But I gotta say, after filling it out, I think it might be the white one. Like, especially as I just said that, like, the fact that you'll either get an artifact back, which there are a lot of artifacts to get back in the set, and if you don't, you'll, like, scry 3. That's pretty close to a card. God, it might be the white one. Anyway, I voted blue.
Okay, so I just want to say, my worry about the white one, because I thought about this some, is I am concerned about, like, the number of artifact cards that are, like, good to recur at the stage that I'm doing this.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I'm also concerned about the number of cards that are artifact themed but aren't actually artifact cards.
Sure, okay.
For example, there's the 4-mana 3/2 flyer that ETBs to make a 1/1 token.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that card's nice, and I think probably one of the tentpoles of the blue-white artifacts, like archetype.
Yeah.
Also, it's just not an artifact.
Yeah.
It makes one, but it's not an artifact.
Sure.
And, like, my worry is that I'm going to look at my graveyard almost every time with this thing and be like, well, I can get back this 2/2 artifact Grizzly Bear. And that's about it. And that concerns me. I get that you can scry 3. I don't know how good a 5-mana 4/4 that scries 3 is.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Imperial Oath thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's okay.
Yeah.
So, here's the answer I gave. It's not the answer you're expecting. I answered Primordial Gnar.
Okay.
I think Primordial Gnar might be fucking real, actually.
Really? Okay.
Well, okay, like, it's a 5/2. You can't, like, ignore it. Like, I'm gonna play this 5/2. Like, what are you gonna do? You're like, I'm not gonna kill it? It's like, I'm gonna attack you. You wanna take 5? Like, your board is, you have a thing with so much toughness, you can just, like, probably eat my 5/2. I mean, maybe. Yeah. But probably you'll have to trade. Then I'll get my card. Then I'll discover 3. Then I'm gonna discover the Raised Dead. Then I'm gonna play it again.
Yeah, I mean, that is a nice combo.
Like that's the sort of thing that I'm imagining. Like, I feel like the black decks are based around grinding value with that Raised Dead. I feel like Primordial Gnar is a nice role player.
And the Raised Dead, we mean the 3-mana mill 2, then return 2.
Yes. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. And there's a bad one with Descent.
And I don't think this card is like...
Sorry, Discover.
And again, I don't think Primordial Gnar is like, oh, this is the key card that makes the deck work. That's, like, not my opinion.
Yeah.
But, like, it seems like a solid player in those decks. It seems like it plays into the strategy pretty nicely.
Yeah.
Black seems like controlling color to me. There's good removal in common. And I think that once I play a few more spells, really playing this to either finish them or continue to grind value is nice. On D, it blocks and trades with just about anything they attack with. Gets you value when you do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I kind of like the Primordial Gnar.
Yeah.
That's my argument.
No, I think that's real. I was having flashbacks to the card Testament Bearer from a recent set. 4-mana 4/1. When it dies, look at the top 3, put 1 into your hand.
Yeah.
And that card was a card that, like, people ranked pretty highly and ended up... And I mean, part of that was it was a very aggressive format. and so you didn't have time to futz around in all will be one. But I was just worried about that comparison, and like, I don't know, I'm worried about them trading it off with their 2. You play a 5, you trade it off with a 2, you discover into, I don't know, not a very good card, and then like, like, I think Discover 3 might be worse than look at the top 3, draw 1.
No, I think it's better.
Okay.
Well, I mean, just notably, you get to cast the card.
Sure. No, I understand.
So, okay, if you looked at this card, so this is not really a fair way to analyze the card, but if you look at the output of this card, ultimately, assuming you at some point get to die, which you won't always do, but you often will.
Sure.
You will end up getting a 5/2 and a 3-mana spell for 5 mana.
Yeah.
So you're kind of getting a 5/2 for 2.
Yeah.
The rate is there.
Yeah. Okay. That's
as with Testament Bearer, the Testament Bearer effect is like a 1 to 2 mana effect.
Sure. Yeah.
So you're not getting as much a full card. I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
I'm just it'll impact the board, in some way, probably.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's my pick for Mono. I'm very confident about this one. I think it's very hard.
I think this one is one of the hardest
I think all 5 of them are plausible.
Upon discussion, I kind of like my discussion of my choice of the blue one.
Okay.
Getting my card up front, and then, I mean, if you descend a 3/2 flyer is a pretty real threat. This will close out some games.
I very seriously thought about the green one, I'd like to state.
Oh god, I did not think about the green one. I think I might rate the green one last.
Interesting. I mean, you might be right. I'm just wondering, it's gonna make really good attacks if you can do the thing. Maybe doing the thing is too hard.
I'm just worried about doing the thing, and I'm worried about the fact that, my green decks might want my big creatures to be dinosaurs.
Okay, that second thing is real.
The fact that this is a 5-mana 5/4 that is not a dinosaur, I'm really concerned about that. Maybe that's a fiction. Maybe there's I think less dinosaur tribal than I'm thinking, but there is some dinosaur tribal.
Yeah. You might be right. I don't know. I'm standing pat by my primordial gnawer.
Great. I'm standing. Yeah. I was ready to audit to white, and I'm still unsure between blue and white, but I do think it's.
I appreciate that our ratings were radically different on this one.
This is also, we just haven't brought up the red one. I think the red one's fine. You'll put it in some decks,
Well, I mean, so this card was sort of printed before. I think it was a 5/4 last time.
5/4, yeah.
But dealing 2 damage a turn in a board stall is pretty real.
Oh yeah, and the aggressive deck where the board stabilizes, but your opponent's at 6, and then you just drop this. It's
they're dead.
They're dead.
It's
awesome. You have to answer this, right?
And it's got 5 toughness, so it lives through a lot of the con removal. You can't abrade this thing, you know. I can see the Panic Altar being good, certainly.
Yep.
I preferred the value card, but I don't think Panic Altar is awful by any means.
I think we haven't talked about it yet, but if this ended up being the answer, I would not be shocked.
Well, I think all 5 are competitive. This is anyone's game, this slide.
Anyway, okay, I think we're gonna jump away from commons and we're gonna talk about the signpost on commons, and I just thought it'd be fun to split this up into 2, and so we did allied color and enemy color.
Yeah.
And so these are a little complicated. We can go through them one by one. We'll go right to left, I guess. So we have the dinosaur one on the right, which you can't really see. It's a 2/3 haste that when you play it, you can pay 2 mana to have a dinosaur bite a thing, deal damage equal to its power to a thing, including itself. The red-black one cares about descend. If you descend each turn, you get some value. The Dimir one is kind of a big guy that can come back if you've descended a lot. Pretty good also if you self-mill it, you can bring it back. The Azurius one makes a 4/4 and then crafts into a thing that makes a ton of 4/4s. Really powerful grindy card, also the only one that's not a legend. And then the Selesnya one encourages you for attacking with creatures with greater power than their base power. And wait, I actually have a question about this one. It says, whenever one or more creatures you control, each with power greater than its base power, deal combat damage to a player. Does that mean they all have to have that? Or is it okay if they're not? Because the each was really throwing me off on this.
Oh god, I didn't even process this issue.
Because it's one or...
Whenever one or more creatures... I don't know.
Okay, yeah, the each... let's not stress about it too much. I think... Because I think you could just say I had one creature with greater power and one creature without. So one or more creature with power.
Yeah, I think you get to draw if okay. Yes, I think the each is not meant as a downside.
Great. Okay.
That is my belief.
Yes, that's my belief as well.
Mostly because I just don't think wizards would ever do that intentionally.
Yeah.
So okay.
And I know for a fact we have the same answer to this one.
Okay.
And I think it's... I mean, this Gruul one's messed up.
Yeah,
like,
the
it's
Gruul one's
really
obscene,
strong.
I think.
Part of the reason I split this up is because I think it was obvious Gruul, and I wanted to give some others a chance.
Well, okay, let's just talk about them a little bit first.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, let's talk about why the Gruul's so strong. So the reason the Gruul one is so strong is because, well, first of all, 4 mana 2/3 haste deal 2 straight up with no help is actually just quite a good card.
Oh, for sure.
Like, we're happy to play that card. In an aggressive deck, it pushes damage immediately, clears the blocker, it's great. But this card's better than that.
Oh, yeah.
That card, to be clear, already a card I would just happily play in many decks. This card is Mardu Heartpiercer that has haste. Only also, by the way, if you happen to draw it on like turn 6, or you happen to not want to play it as the way your curve works out, it deals like 5.
Yeah.
Just like, that's the gravy. Just
right.
like, not only is it Mardu Heartpiercer, it's just like a first pickable card in its limited format with haste. Also, for no cost, essentially, it just deals more later. It's awesome.
Oh, and don't forget, you can play it as a 2 mana 2/3 haste.
Oh yeah, I haven't even touched the fact that you're allowed to do that.
Obviously, you don't want to do that, but like, I assume if you're an aggressive green-red deck, like, sometimes you're just gonna slam it on 2. If you're on the play, like, that's big game. Like, 2/3. I love haste. Haste is maybe my favorite limited mechanic.
Okay, so that one I think is definitely the best.
Yeah.
I think the better question is, what do you think is second? Which I think is quite interesting. I'm not sure between the other 4.
Okay, I think the red-black one is real.
Okay.
The red-black one reads as real to me. Like, 2 mana 2/2 Death Touch, quite good. I think it's not that hard to build your deck so you can descend every turn. And I think if you get to do this thing, or not every turn, but most turns, and I think its effect is, like, we've seen this before, where it's like, discard a card, sacrifice a permanent, or take 3.
Yeah, it's the Torrent of Hailfire effect.
That's like, I mean, usually, like, the first 1 or 2 don't matter, and then it starts to really add up.
That's true.
But, okay, that said, I really like the Azurius one.
Okay, my answer is I think the Azurius one is second.
Okay.
I basically looked at this slide. I was like, I really would like to say there's one and then sing its praises, but I think that the Flame to Cobble is too strong.
Yeah, the fact that it's just like an awesome late game engine, but it's also like 5 mana 4/4 is a really powerful tool to stabilize you to that late game engine.
Yes.
And like, holy shit, if you flip this, like, wow, are they screwed? Like,
it goes pretty hard.
Yeah.
Just like, it will make a 4/4 most turns, maybe not every turn, but most turns. It will obviously immediately make a second 4/4, which is great. And, like, I also just, like, looked at the blue-white artifact stuff, because, like, partially the question you're asking here is, like, the viability of the archetypes. And I think I'm currently a buyer of blue-white archetype art stock. Yeah. I'm not saying blue-white is going to be the busted archetype in the set. Like, I can't possibly know that.
Sure.
What I'm saying is, like, I don't know, it looked pretty legitimate to me. Yeah, you make one immediately.
You make one immediately when you flip it, yeah.
So like, it's like, I don't know. I think I'm a believer in the blue-white archetype, which fundamentally means I should be believing in the Signpost Uncommon. They're pretty correlated events. It seems like a pretty good rate to me. It does require the game to go long, but the set seems kind of slowish to me. I think that's pretty viable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like the Master's Guide Mural.
And even if you don't ever get to flip it, like, 5 mana 4/4, I mean, that's obviously worse than all these cards.
High.
But it's, you know, that's an acceptable Magic card when it has a really exciting upside.
Well, and something I even thought about is, like, if you play this thing, you make the 4/4 golem artifact, and then you do something else with the artifact, like you craft it with one of the craft artifact things, or you, like, sacrifice it to the white uncommon that sacks an artifact when it enters the battlefield. Like, honestly, fine.
Yeah.
It's just a free piece of cardboard you can throw away. Like, you know you're not going to hit 7 mana this game anytime soon. Like, I could see that totally working, and that's just not even bad. So, anyways, yeah, I love Master Guide Mural. Yeah, and we can go on.
Yeah, I mean,
the others are kind of whatever.
The others are whatever. I still believe in the Rakdos one. I think it's pretty good.
Oh, I think it's good too. I think I have Rakdos third, but I have Azurius second.
Sure. I think I settled on Azurius second over Rakdos. I was kind of slow rolling it with my description, but... And, like, yeah, these 2 cards are fine. Like, I want to make this one work a lot, but, you know. Anyway, I think
this one's
hard. So much harder.
Yeah,
I literally
really
think
struggled.
if I had to rank all 10, I would rank, like, 4 of, like, I think these ones are a lot worse.
Yeah, I don't know the extent to which that there's an intentional thing with allied enemy going on there.
I don't think so. I think it's just kind of a coincidence. Also, is Captain Storm related to Captain Lannery Storm?
I assume so.
Nice. Is it the literal same person?
That I don't know.
Okay.
No, I don't know if I'm saying that.
I might think the blue-white one is the second best of the two.
I am not willing to commit to that claim.
I'm not willing to... Yeah.
Maybe. Let me think about it.
Yeah.
I think I don't think that.
Because if not, it means whichever one you...
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah.
FYI.
Okay,
but it's fine.
I'll tell you what I picked here.
Okay, go.
I picked the Golgari one here.
Okay, interesting.
I like the Golgari one a lot. Like, if you can descend 4, which I feel like you'll really want to do in these color pairs, it's a 3-mana 5/5 trample, which is really fucked up. Obviously, like, you won't play it on 3 and have it be a 5, but, like, I'm imagining, like, turn 5, you, like, do a thing for 2 and have already hit to send 4 and play it as a 5. Like that's very strong. And, like, holy shit, if you get to send 8, this thing is massive. Like, it has stats for days.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think it's just a huge threat, and I think it's cheap, and I think it requires some work, but I kind of think it's not going to be that hard to turn on Descend 4 in my green-black decks. Maybe that's ambitious.
I'm worried about that.
While you wait for it, a 3-mana 3/3 is at least something. Like,
well, yeah, but I'm pretty concerned that, like, okay, just, like, think about, like, Muslim forms you play, let's ignore the fact that Descend requires them to be, like, permanents for
sure.
Right? Like, on what, like, turn of the game do you have 4, like, cards in your graveyard?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Like, much less, some of those cards will probably be, like, removal spells you play.
Sure, yeah.
So, like, and I get that there's some self-mill, I get that Black-Green does that thing.
Yeah.
I'm just worried that, like, Descend 8 is a pipe dream, and Descend 4 will happen on, like, turn 7 or something. That's my concern about the card. Now, obviously, it's a 3/3 with multiple upsides. Like, the floor is very high on this thing.
Yeah.
But I did not pick it because of concern about this.
Yeah.
And what I did pick, which, so I'm very concerned about this pick, honestly. But what I picked was I picked Capricorn Sun.
Okay, that's the other one I was considering.
And I picked Capricorn mostly just because it seems to me like, okay, I get that you have to untap with this thing. Yeah. That's definitely true. Sometimes you play your 4-drop, they kill it, you don't do the thing.
Yeah.
But, 4 toughness a lot, it lives through a braid, it lives through the black removal spell unkicked or whatever.
It doesn't.
Oh wait, no, that's not true, you're right. Lives through a braid, it'll untap a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
And then just, like, you immediately attack, and it immediately procs a lot of value.
Yeah.
And the value is very easy to obtain. Like, the artifact clause is huge here. Because I get that sometimes you're playing a grinding game, you won't actually have 2 creatures to convoke, but, like, come on, you'll probably have some random artifacts lying around of some variety. Like, I don't know, craft things that you weren't using yet because you haven't met the condition, or, like, map tokens. Like, it'll just happen. And then, if you attack and they don't have a good blocker, they're dead.
Yeah.
If you attack, they have blocks, and you have a trick, they're dead.
Yeah.
If you attack and they trade, well, you got a nice 2-for-1, you're pretty happy.
Yeah.
Like, it just seems to me like the downside just isn't there as long as you get to attack. Now,
yeah, and you
maybe
can, like,
that's
play
too
it
ambitious.
on an open board, and if they don't kill it, you can, like, play 2 things and then tap them.
Yes, like, I get that they... And I fully understand all complaints about criticism of this card. I believe will be of the form, it dies.
Yeah.
Which is all very reasonable.
Right, don't get to do the thing that often.
But, like, I kind of feel like it's Baneslayer Angel.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think I'm going to lose a lot once I untap with this thing. That's kind of the way I feel. I mean, Baneslayer's obviously an overstatement, but, like, it's in that, like, zone, in that space.
Yeah, okay, I think you've sold me on it. I think I maybe like the...
I think the Capricorn one might be my second favorite of these.
Yeah.
But I'm not very sure. After the red green one, which I just think is obscene.
Yeah.
I mean, Sam, the speed of the format from reading spoiler I think is very hard to predict. It doesn't look that fast to me, but I'm very low confidence on that.
Yeah, I don't like Captain Storm. I don't like that you need, like, okay, I get you can put the counters on itself, but, like, ideally you'll want some artifacts and some other pirates, and, like...
Yeah, I think it's asking kind of a lot of you.
Yeah, and, like, I also feel that about the Simic one, like, the fact that just a lot of times you'll play this and not find anything that explores, like...
Yeah.
And, like, even the land part is, like, good, but not that good, right? Like... Aren't there a bunch of map
There
pirates?
are some.
I think there are a few, not a bunch.
Yeah, like, I don't...
Yeah, I guess,
I don't know
like,
the numbers off the top of my head.
Curving this into the 3-mana 2/2 flyer that makes a map is quite fucked up, yeah.
Oh, it's great. I mean, I think Captain Storm is good.
Sure.
I was just also worried about the same thing, and part of it is, right, like, I'm not sure how much of the artifact theme lives in blue versus lives in white.
Yeah.
I'm worried that it, like, more, like, obviously...
It does just kind of seem like there are artifacts in all 5 colors.
Well, there definitely are.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm worried that, like, blue-red is just, like, I don't know, not where the biz is for the artifact theme. Like, I don't know, I really, like, this card, I don't know, it seems like it plays really nicely with the white 2-drop guy that's an artifact. Well, I guess there's a red 2-drop guy that's
There's a red 2-drop guy.
So, I don't know. Maybe this is low on Captain Storm. I think Captain Storm is maybe, I believe in that more than I believe in the current conductor, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Like, I think Captain Storm I could see running away with the game, whereas current conductor, I'm worried that you do a lot of work and don't even get that much out of it sometimes.
And
like,
what do you think about Bartolome?
Bartolome. I mean, that's not the English name of the card, is it? Or is it?
It is.
Oh, it is. Wow. Okay. Sorry. I was wondering. I thought I literally saw some spoiler and I just thought it was like untranslated or something.
Nope.
Okay. Well, I'm a fool. Anyways, yeah. I don't know. I'm pretty worried about the fact that it's a 2-1 versus a 2-2. Is that a weird comment?
No, I don't think that's a weird comment.
Like, I don't like that you attack with this, they block with a 2-2 and you have to sack 2 things.
Yeah.
Like, I get that you have fodder lying around, I get that there are these 1-1 tokens that you can sack, I get that these artifacts, the map tokens, blah, blah, blah. And I get that channeling into this is a pretty good, like, usage of them.
Yeah.
That I totally all buy, but I just, like, fundamentally feel that I'm going to attack with this thing, they're going to block with a 2-2, I'm going to sack a couple things, and then, like, they're going to be like, alright, my guy dies. And I'm going to be like, am I winning? Is this good? Like, it doesn't seem that obvious to me, and that's not even discussing the blowout case where you attack, they block 2-2, you sack their stuff, and then they kill it somehow.
Right, yeah.
Which is obviously a disaster. Like, I don't know. It's like, also, another question I had about this card is, like, how do you think this card compares to Denkuto Husk? Like, I get that it's instant speed, but is it actually better to get +1/+1 permanently or +2/+2 once?
Interesting, yeah.
I think it's, like, not obviously +1/+1 permanently.
Yeah.
It, like, might be. I think it's competitive. Now, it is nice that over the course of the game, you can, like, build up some counters, like, their removal spells all give you a counter, etc. But also, like, probably one of those spells we point at this thing, so, like, how real is that? I don't know.
And there's a bunch of stuff to sacrifice, but yeah, I think I'm pretty low on it, too.
Obviously, it's good. I mean, you're paying very little for this effect. Like, I'm not saying unplayable garbage. I don't really see this being the card where, like, God, my opponent played Bartolome, I just easily lost. Like, I just don't think that's a conversation we're going to be having in a few months.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my take.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I'm pretty convinced on Boros guy, but, you know, I believe in you, Golgari guy.
We'll see if Captain Storm surprises us.
Yeah,
I think Captain Storm is a sleeper, for sure.
I think so, too.
I think I have Capricorn Sunborn, then Captain Storm.
Okay, yeah.
Then I have the Golgari one. I think my current ordering, but yeah, it is quite hard to predict.
Yeah,
and I also don't know the extent to which we're actually making predictions about archetypes, which is something
really
that
hard to know,
is very hard, I think.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I think Capricorn is the second best of all these, is my guess.
If you're just joining us live on Twitch, welcome to System Magic's first ever live limited set review, where rather than doing what set reviews normally do and go card by card, we've created a prop bet sheet, which links are being posted regularly in the chat. Here, I'll post it again, where we're just kind of going through, it's prop, P-R-O-P, prop bets. Nice. That'll take you to the sheet. There's also a link in there to this PowerPoint if you want to see the pictures. And we're just kind of making some predictions about kind of A versus B questions in the limited set. And we're going to move on to our next question. Like the best 5 drop in the set, there is a single 1 drop in each color. And so, Andrew, which of these 1 drops do you think is the best?
Oh, yeah, I really struggled with this question. I'm still very unsure.
Yeah.
Wait, isn't it your turn to go first?
Didn't I go? I think I'm happy to go first.
You can go first.
I like my answer. I picked the white one.
Yeah, I regret not picking the white one. Go on.
I like the white one. I feel like it's a great way to start the game in aggressive decks. I really like that there's white Iron Shell Beetle or backup agent in this set, which is a little better. And I think the curve of like play this into play the backup agent, put a counter on it, have a 2-mana 2/2 flying vigilance is very strong. And then they'll need to kill it, and if they kill it, this will die, and you'll have the backup agent card to explore onto. Obviously, you won't always have that, but like you might also have a map thing to give it a counter. Like I feel like it's just not that hard to grow it, and if this grows at all, it's really strong. If it happens to trade off, it's like okay, you at least get an explore. Like I'm a believer in the white one.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm really uncertain. My worry about Miner's Guidewing, which I think is a reasonable answer, but it might be right, is mostly that I don't know how often this thing dies. Or to rephrase, I don't know if the thing dies for meaningful profits.
Sure.
Like, I'm worried that the biggest fail case of 1-mana 1/1 flyers generally is your opponent says, alright, I'll take one a turn, and ignores you.
Yeah.
And I'm worried that Miner's Guidewing will fall into this. Now, I comprehend that as Vid, so at some point you'll be able to guarantee a chump.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make me that pleased. Like, I'm not all that, okay, let's say we conceptualize the chump value at, 3.5 life.
Sure.
Like, are we that into 1-mana flying vigilance when it dies you gain 3.5 life and explore. Maybe.
Yeah.
Like it like I don't know. It does some stuff. I do like putting the back of Agent, but I'm worried that it's still not impactful enough. Maybe that's not true. Yeah, I really struggle with this question, mostly because I think I'm not that high on these as a class.
I also am not that high on all of them as a class.
Yeah, I thought pretty seriously about Cogwork Wrestler just because I remember the fairy that was a 1/2 version of this really being an overperformer, and I like that it's an artifact, and I like that it procs stuff at instant speed potentially of your artifact stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you like, I mean, to use an obvious example here, let's say you Goblin Tomb Raider and you have this in your hand, you attack, the swinging combat is actually quite large.
Yeah.
Which I liked. But in the end, the one I picked was the Tomb Raider, which might be wrong. But I just picked it because, I don't know, I'm pretty sure it's going to be worth a card almost every time. I don't think controlling an artifact is that hard. But I'm pretty confident. I could easily see it being the blue or the white one. I'm pretty low on the green and black ones, I guess.
Yeah. I was wondering about the green one. Like, obviously, if you enter a board stall and you have the green one, it becomes quite good, and it finds you more lands, which you can then keep using to its ability. Like, I mean, I obviously didn't pick it. I think it was in second place for me.
Okay. I don't think I'm a believer of the green one. I mean, maybe I'll end up regretting that. I don't know. Okay, like, I just feel like historically, cards of this form, like 1 mana, 1/1 with activated ability for 3 to 4 mana, haven't ended up being great most of the time.
True.
My feeling is that, like, it's historical contemporaries. Like okay, one of these was in Eldraine. Do you remember the white 1/1 that, like, when a enchantment enters the battlefield, scry, and then for 4, pump it equal to enchantments? That card? Or, sorry, maybe it was 3. Anyway, like, I don't think that card was great.
That's
it wasn't unplayable, but it wasn't great.
Yeah.
And I'm worried that Secret Sunlight will end up falling in the same cracks. Like, it's just not what I really want to spend 3 mana on. Obviously, I could be flooding out, but, like, I sort of have to start from the premise that I want to play 1 mana 1/1 to be interesting. So, I don't know.
I also...
It goes nuts with the blue-green uncommon. That is true.
That is true.
I can imagine picking Secret of Sunlight once you have the Conductor of Currents for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I would just pick it, like, on its own until quite late in the pack. I sort of believe in Goblin Tomb Raider. I don't know. It seems like that's the thing Pirates are doing.
Yeah.
It seems like if you end up with a fast red 2/2, it's pretty good. There is a red common that is just a 2/2 with small upside. You can easily curve this into. Like, I don't know. I sort of see that as being the thing the blue-red Pirates deck does. So that's why I picked Goblin Tomb Raider. But I felt very uncommon about this. It could easily be the Guidewing. I'm not very sure.
Yeah. Another thing I want to say about Secret of Sunlight before ending is there's actually a lot of mana sinks in the set, I think. Like all the crafts cost a bajillion mana. You have the caves to sacrifice, that costs a bajillion mana. You have the mana cyclers, like you're more likely to have random expensive cards because of the land cyclers. Like, I care a little less about having to have a mana sink in my deck than I might normally.
No, that's definitely fair. So just to be clear, though, I think I picked the Tomb Raider. I almost wish I picked the Cogwork Wrestler, but and I also think you might be right about the Guidewing. But I think those 3 are clearly cut up for me.
Yeah.
God,
I'm just not a believer in the freebooter, but
I don't think I am either. But maybe I'll eat those words. Yeah. Obviously, it's nice to mix artifact stuff, but yeah.
Oh baby, we got some nice ones now.
Right. So these are both fucking great.
Welcome to the preening champion battle. Who is more preening champion? Oltec Cloud Guard or Waterwind Scout?
Yes, agreed. I agree that is the question. All right, so should I go first for this one? I feel a little bit more unsound footing here.
Fired off.
Yeah, so I picked Oltec Cloud Guard.
Oh, amazing! I picked Waterwind Scout.
Okay, it's
a 2/2.
I really like the stats on Oltec Cloud Guard, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I wanted to pick Cloud Guard so much. Basically the only reason I didn't is back to the 4/4 thing that you said way back in the 4 mana thing.
Well, that's a reasonable
way back in the stream.
I did say that very early on, that you always end up with 2
It's funny, when you said that, I was like, damn it, this means you're not going to have picked the Cloud Guard.
Well, I did pick the Cloud Guard. I just remember, kind of the way it feels, I remember Eldrazi Sky Spawner being unreal. Yeah. And I just think this card is kind of Sky Spawner.
Oh yeah, and like the third point of power is maybe worth the extra mana, like... That's really good on a flyer. That's
how I feel. Now maybe Waterwind Scout playing super nicely with the pirate guy and like fitting really nicely into all the blue archetypes is like too much. I know part of this question is kind of summarized as like how valuable is a map token?
What I liked about this, and I want to say it before we move on from the curve thing, is this card is kind of a 3-drop and a 4-drop.
That is true.
Right? Because, like, you can play it on 3 and figure out something to do with the map later. You can also just play it on floor and explore onto it right away.
Yeah.
And, like, that's pretty good. Like, 4 mana, 3/3 flyer that scries one, like, that's a pretty good rate. Like, or if you draw a land, like it has...
You might be right.
But that was what convinced me in the end. But I think that these are two of the top commons in the set.
They're both great.
Like, yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. And what's weird about them is obviously, okay, these are two great tastes that go right together.
Yes.
Like, we were talking about the blue-white artifact deck, and the kind of the way I see it is that, like, that I assume that deck is trying to, like, fly over where it, like, does some light chumping on the ground with, like, 1/1 tokens and stuff. And both of these just, like, fit right into that kind of strategy.
They sure do, yeah.
They curve really nicely into each other. Like, these two cards are definitely not enemies.
Ooh, this is a great question. How would I rank a map token versus a blood token?
It's a good question.
I think I'd rather have a blood.
I believe that it is quite close. I think the blood is a little stronger, but it's not by much. Like, I think if you rated them the same, you might be closer than worrying about the distance between them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird because to optimize a map token, you want to find a creature that really wants to get +1/+1 is the weird part.
Yeah.
But then you sometimes won't get it.
Right.
There's this weird dynamic where, like, you'll make a map token, and then you'll be like, okay, well, I have a spare mana, should I crack this instantly? And then it won't always be clear if you should or not.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you will actually get value when you grab tokens, sometimes you'll wait, and then you'll hit a land anyway, and it won't matter.
Yeah.
So, I know, it's a bit strange. But yeah, I think blood tokens are slightly stronger on the whole.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I just kind of liked this as a question. I think these cards,
it's very
kind
hard.
of resemble each other.
I think you might be right, and I'll regret saying Cloud Guard. I do really like the Cloud Guard numbers, but maybe I'm too high on it.
And I mean, as we've said many times, in 2023, sometimes making a 1/1 is better than drawing a card.
Well, I think yes. Okay, to be clear, I think that Cloud Guard clearly has the better ETB ability.
Yes.
It's more that it only has +1/+1 for a full mana. How does that actually work out? Like, is it? Are you actually getting your money's worth out of the mana? Which I'm not so sure of. But, anyways, we can go on. That's pretty interesting. Tokens do not trigger descend. Yes.
Tokens do not trigger descend. It specifically says cards. Okay, welcome to the best common clunky removal spell.
Yeah.
Where we're gonna talk about these 3 removal spells, which are all a little clunky.
Yeah, this one's weird because it's not exactly clear that any of these cards is going to be great.
Yes, but it's also not clear that any of them is going to be horrible.
Yeah, they're probably going to be mid.
Yes.
Yeah, so...
it's my turn. Yeah, I went back and forth on this a lot, and I settled for the same reason that Sam's saying. I picked the white one, because it's the only one that's an instant, and it'll sometimes cost 3. But man, costing this for 6 sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know, this was in the Lord of the Rings set, a very similar thing, and it was fine. I think it ended up being a little better than people expected. And, I mean, the exile is really nice. Obviously, the black one exiles 2 and has scry 1, but, vehicle, non-basic land doesn't really matter. And I feel like people always overhype this Rumbling Rockslide effect.
Yeah,
I feel like we've seen it before, and everyone's like, oh my god, murder! And it just, it's always a little clunky. It always, you're missing a land dropper. You need to top deck a land because, in order for it to do its thing, or, you have Poison Dart Frog and you want to cast it on 3, but you can't kill a thing,
Yes, I'm right there with you. I think the last version of this effect that I think was really strong was, Ground Assault.
Yes.
Deep Cut,
which costs 2.
Which costs 2, yes.
Yeah.
Basically, just, the problem is all these cards...
Stone Fury, I remember being... playable. I think Rumbling Rockslide is playable.
It's playable. Yeah, to be clear, I give the same answer as you and Sam, which is I gave Quicksand Whirlpool. I mostly just think that, I do think being the Chiefs is quite good. I think 3 is destroy target attacking creatures, the fact that we've seen several times with the mana, I think it's usually decent.
Sure. And tapped is good too, you don't have to leave the mana up. You can take a hit and then nix their thing,
Well, what I think about with Quicksand Whirlpool, right? It's okay, let's compare it to Killshot, destroy target attacking creature for 3,
sure.
Right? Which to be clear, I understand Magic's power creep since then. I acknowledge that Killshot would probably be bad now.
Yeah.
But where I'm at is one of the main disadvantages of Killshot effects in general is your opponent can sometimes make them real awkward by just sitting there and not attacking and continuing to cast spells.
Yeah.
And wasting your mana if you hold it up. But because you can cast it on your turn next to the creature, and you'll eventually cast it for 6 if they just sit around long enough, that there's never really an exploit. Probably if you think your opponent's Quicksand Whirlpool, what you should do, I don't know, a lot of times you probably just attack.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that Quicksand Whirlpool is just, like, pretty reasonable. So I picked the Whirlpool. I admit that we are kind of picking between three not great cards here. Like, I'm not saying Quicksand Whirlpool. This is going to be the premier white common.
Sure.
But I do think Quicksand Whirlpool is probably the strongest.
What do you get for winning? A nice congratulations from System Magic.
I think we may decide to send the viewers
to send something nice to the person who wins.
Yeah.
Because I'm obviously going to win and I want.
I think we might send them like a signing a hardware or something.
Nice. Ooh, that's a great prize.
So yeah, but I don't know.
Or Ben, you can play, and if you win, we won't give you anything.
Yeah.
We'll send you a printed out copy of Black Lotus from my printer signed.
But yeah, basically.
Can you get it signed by Andrew? Craig? Nope.
Oh my god, that's a great question. Anyways, we can. But yes, I think Quicksand Whirlpool is.
Yeah, maybe this one was too obvious. Like, I don't know. When I wrote it, I thought I was gonna pick the black one. Mostly because I thought Exile was great, and then I was like, wait, this Exile's too.
Yeah. It's fine. We can have a few questions. We can find a few easy ones. We'll lob it over the plate for him.
Yeah.
The thing as a whole is pretty hard.
Yeah.
So,
okay, here's another two cards that I thought were notably similar.
Oh, yeah.
We have the best red common that grows when it attacks. So on the right, we have a 2-mana 2/2 that when it attacks or blocks when you have a dinosaur, it gets bigger. And on the left, we have a 3-mana 2/3 that when it attacks, if you have 2 or more artifacts, it gets bigger. And I don't remember whose turn it is, but I'm willing to give my answer.
I don't really know.
I picked the artifact guy.
Okay, interesting. Go on.
I kind of feel like getting, like, it kind of seems like getting to 2 artifacts isn't actually that hard. Like, I really like being able to curve the 2-mana 2/2 artifact guy into, like, play some artifact and then attack for 4. And 4 is quite a lot. And I think, like, the Dino one, I don't like that, like, you're going to play it and play a Dino, and they're already going to want to kill your Dino, and they're going to kill your Dino, and then you're left with a kind of an awkward 2/2. Again, I understand that the Dino one is the cheaper one, and attacking for turn 3 on turn 3 is quite strong. But I kind of am a believer in this Brazen Blade Master. I also think they're, like, I guess this is true about this too, but I like that they, like, work pretty well in multiples. Like, if you play multiples of them and get some artifacts out, like, it's gonna get really, really, like, you're gonna have all these 4/4s. Like, they can't ignore 4/4s forever. 3-mana 4/4 is nice. Like,
yeah, so my main worry is, I think you're downplaying this 2 is greater than 1 thing.
Yeah.
But I think the 2 greater than 1 thing might be really important.
The 2 greater than 1 in...
Well, fundamentally, just like, okay, the idea that, like, I'm going to draw my opening hand, and I'll have Brazen Blade Master plus an artifact to curve out, pretty doable. A lot of artifacts in the set.
Yeah.
I agree. The idea that, like, I'm going to look at my opening hand and I'm going to have 2 of them I'm less sold on. Like, what I'm worried about is that, like, okay, I'll play the artifact guy on 2, I'll play this on 3, I happen to not have a 4th artifact, and I'm like, well, do I want to attack my 2/3? Like, probably not. My 2/3 is no good attacks. And then, like, it'll be a while before I find the second artifact, then it will, like, really never get going.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one, just, like, the main argument for Burnings and Cavalry is, well, A, the fail case is massively better.
Sure.
A 2-minute, like, Riot Devils was a bad card in Innistrad Limited 10 years ago.
Yeah.
2-mana 2/2s we actually still play nowadays, sometimes. Not saying they're amazing.
Sure.
But also, I get they're going to want to play Dinosaur or whatever. Maybe they will, but my main argument is just that 2-mana 2/2 is much better than 3-mana 2/3.
Yeah.
And I just think Threshold 1 is a lot less than Threshold 2. I get that artifacts want to use in Dinosaur, that is true.
Yeah.
But my sort of opinion is that I think that maybe the Threshold 1, Threshold 2 thing outweighs the, like, the easiness of the condition in some sense.
Yeah.
So
there's, like, treasures, there's maps, there's, like, these craft things that just sit around as artifacts, like...
Yeah, I get that. That's all true. But just at the end of the day, they're going to hit the fail case sometime. Both of them.
Yep.
And when my Burnings and Cavalry does, I'll be pretty happy.
Sure.
So I'm a Burnings and Cavalry believer. I also do think that, the words or blocks, I agree with, are interesting. I agree that it's weird on a red card. Although, in, like, a Gruul mid-range deck, like the red deck kind of looks like, you might do a little blocking, you know? Like, I don't think you're going to do a ton of it, but I could see them coming up. Anyways, so I'm a pretty firm Burnings and Cavalry.
Yeah, and Zach, you're right that if I'm using treasures and maps to pump this up, then I don't get to use my treasures and maps, which is kind of awkward.
They can hang out for a while. I don't think that's that the end of the world.
Yeah.
At some point in time, it'll probably trade off, and then you'll sack the maps. Right?
Also, to be clear, Armath, that's not true. There are a decent amount of artifact creatures in the set.
Yes. Like, the red 2-drop artifact creature just exists, and it's important to keep in mind. It's literally just a 2-mana 2/2 artifact creature with the text, when it attacks, you may rummage.
Yeah. When it becomes tapped.
When it becomes
tapped. It's coming up in just a second. It might even be next. Oh yeah, here we go. Oh, it's gonna be hidden by our face. Okay, then I noticed that there are a bunch of grizzly bears that trigger when you attack. So then we made which is the best grizzly bear that triggers when it attacks. So there's a 2-mana 2/2 artifact that when it becomes tapped, you scry 1. There's 2-mana 2/2 green that when it attacks something gains trample. There's 2-mana 2/2 white that when it attacks, you can tap something for 3 mana. And then there's the red one we've been talking about a lot, 2-mana 2/2 that when it becomes tapped, you may rummage.
Yes. So, okay, I can lead on this one if you like. Okay, so here's the... Wait, this one seems not close? Wait, I think it is close.
Interesting. I was worried that it wasn't close, but now I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, well, here's how I feel. First of all, 3 is 100. I don't believe in this tap ability. I'm off it.
Yeah.
3 is 80 bajillion mana.
Yeah.
Second of all, the Brawler, it's not a dinosaur, who tramples whatever, I'm off it too.
Great.
Between the 2 artifact ones, I do not know which is better, and I'll explain why.
Okay.
So first of all, I think that I understand that several colors care about artifacts, but I think the color that might care about artifactness the most is blue-white.
Yeah.
Which is notably not red.
Yeah, although I will point out that in the set review, we've brought up this card like 8 times.
We have done that.
And we've never brought up the white, like...
Well, I think we just... I don't know if that's a great metric, but
yeah,
it is
totally
true.
fine, yeah.
I agree that between Rummage and Scry one, I think Rummage is the stronger one. I'm just worried the most important factor is going to be when I draft blue-white, I'm like, give me every artifact you got, all of them, put them all in my deck, proc all my stuff. I don't know exactly if all of the payoffs want that, but I feel like historically that's been a thing.
Yeah. So,
I don't know. I picked a 10 to subscribe on this logic, but I'm pretty unconfident. I think between the 2 ones that, basically, I think the 2 artifact ones are much better.
Sure. Agreed.
And between the 2 artifact ones, it's competitive.
Yeah.
But I definitely think the Volatile Wanderglyph believers in the chat might be right. I do think that the argument for it is something like, well, maybe white is the color that cares about the most, but actually it's scarcer in red.
Sure.
So, like, maybe you should pick the one that's scarcer.
And we've seen some red... We've so far seen 3 red cards that care about artifacts.
Yeah, they're definitely
the 1
are a decent number.
The 3 and the blue-red uncommon.
Yeah, maybe red just does care as much as blue and white.
Yeah.
I guess in my head that wasn't so true, but maybe that is true.
Yeah, I guess the red one descends, as Sam points out, but sometimes that doesn't matter.
I'm not too worried about the red one descending,
I think
but
the red artifact stuff is aggressive, too. Like, the red artifact stuff really wants to make sure you have a 2-drop. Where the white artifact stuff, I mean, you always want a 2-drop in limited, but, like, you know, you might not want it to be a 2-mana 2/2 that needs to attack.
I don't know. I think that the white-blue archetype is pretty close to Artifact Skies.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I think what you're looking to do is play this thing, and then play flyer, and, like, it trades off.
Sure.
And you attack them with your flyers.
Yeah.
Like, I think that the intent of Sunscribe is going to fit right into the blue-white archetype. Like, I don't think it's controlling.
Yeah, Sam, that is what it does. Sorry, we're covering it up.
Yes. It runs into that. But I'm sort of coming around. Maybe my answer was wrong. I should say maybe I should think longer about these, honestly. God, they're so hard.
We picked the Gruul one.
We picked the Gruul one, yeah. Oh, I think the Gruul one was easy.
Yeah. And then Andrew picked the Boros one, and I picked the Golgari one, but we're so unconfident. I'm very unconfident. I think I would change my pick to either Boros, or I'm really coming around on this blue-red one, to be honest.
I mean, the blue one was very good.
Yeah.
But I feel like the Gruul one is, like, fucked up. Like, maybe, like, the way I feel is it's possible that we end up all realizing that red-green is an unplayable archetype. That's always possible, and it usually happens to a significant number of color pairs.
Wait, Ben, is it actually Captain Lannery Storm? Is it the same character?
The card is named Captain Storm, so we actually weren't sure.
It could be like the child.
I don't know what Captain is. Anyways, that's not the point. But yeah, I think I just like fucking give me Flameton Kavu. I don't know. Like I want my Flameton Kavu. Yeah. Like if I feel like if red green is playable, that card has to be great. Yeah. Maybe red green is unplayable. Very open to that.
Yeah, and like notably, I feel like looking at Weldrain, like. We really liked Sheree, right? Like, or people I think were really high on Sheree.
Yes, Sheree the Numbing Dose.
Like the blue-white deck ended up being a little weak. And
the right answer to when you should draft blue-white is don't do that.
Well, yeah, and then I don't think that's actually that extreme, but like, you know, it's like, oh, they really pushed the card because the archetype was a little weaker. But. Yeah,
and maybe that also describes the red-green one. I'm definitely open to that. Like, I'm definitely open to realizing that the blue-red one is great later. I mean, I think the red-white one, the blue-red one, and the red-green one are the 3 I like the most. Yeah. So it's sort of hard to assess. But, yeah.
Nice. Okay, this is our last one of these, and then we get into category 2 of cards. These are just 3 cards I wanted to talk about, and I didn't have a good way to talk about them, and so I made a miscellaneous question. Which of these 3 cards is the best? Andrew, would you like to take us to church?
No.
Okay, Andrew, what did
I'm
you
not
pick?
taking you to church.
Did you pick Poison Dart Frog?
I picked Poison Dart Frog.
Okay, I am less of a believer in Poison Dart. I think Poison Dart Frog is a little overhyped.
Okay. I think I'll sell.
Sell.
All right. So, okay, let's start by discussing Mana Dorks a bit. So basically, the thing about Mana Dorks in Limited is that in Limited, it's often hard to consistently utilize your Mana Dorks mana for like a long time.
Yeah.
So kind of the way Mana Dorks tend to play on Limited is you play them, use their mana for a couple of turns, and then a lot of the time they'll like kind of stop tapping for mana, and then like you need to like do something with the body.
Yeah.
This is often how I feel Mana Dorks play out.
Yeah.
Now for some cards better this than others, but like it's why it's actually pretty important Limited whether a Mana Dork is like a 2/2 or a 1/1 is actually something you care about quite a bit, because probably you are actually just going to get in combat with that thing, and it's not going to take that long to get there. So, you know what would be great is if once you reach the point where you no longer need the Mana Dork for mana, it had a way to spend a few mana and get, you know, kind of a guaranteed nice trade. Perhaps if the card had both Death Touch and Reach, for example, so that whatever they're beating you with, be it a flyer or like some big ground guy, you're going to trade for it. And look, I get that they cannot attack or whatever, but like, okay, the thing taps for mana. It barely requires you to leave anything up to activate.
I didn't think about the fact that you can block and activate tap itself.
Yes, you can just block, tap it, tap one land, and Death Touch, and trade with anything, including a flyer. Like, I don't know. That's nice. Like, but see, it's not just Deadly Recluse. It's Deadly Recluse that's also a Mana Dork in the early game.
Sure.
Right? The problem with Deadly Recluse is on turn 2, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, this card's Deadly Recluse that also just, like, accelerates you for a few turns, lets you play a 4-drop on 3. That 4/3 Explorer that Greg was talking about earlier. Yeah, you play this, you play that on turn 3. Later on, you make a Death Touch guy. I think it's Poison Dart Frog. Okay. This card seems really good to me.
Yeah. I was noticing going through the set that, like, I'm not sure splashing is going to be a big thing in this set.
Oh, that's
like,
I think
especially
fair.
compared to Will Drain, where there are all these like off-color adventures and more multicolor cards as a result. Like, I'm not sure I mean, obviously you're gonna splash sometimes. You're gonna get an off-color bomb late, and you're gonna want it. Like, you know, obviously you're gonna splash sometimes. Oh, and there might be a 5-color Caves deck.
That's I think fair, Sam.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure about this. Mainly, I am high on this bounce spell. I am a believer in this bounce spell. Mostly, I was just thinking about how sweet Ephra's Dismissal was, and I know part of that was that it cost 1 sometimes, but I'm not sure this card is that much worse than Ephra's Dismissal, and Ephra's Dismissal was the second best common in its set.
Yeah.
And blue, I feel like, is a little interaction light. There's no bonus cheat stuff in the set.
It makes an artifact.
It makes an artifact. It makes a map. You might be like, I can see being wrong. I can honestly see any 3 of these being the answer to this question, but I picked the blue bounce spell. And partially I wanted to put this question in here to let the world know how much I believe in this blue bounce spell.
Well, I think it's going to be very good. Yeah. I mean, I just don't think it's as good as... I think Poison Dart Frog is like one of the best green commons. Like,
yeah, okay.
Maybe the best one, I'm not sure.
Okay.
So I don't think the bounce spell is bad by any means.
Yeah,
like, I think Skullclap Snail is clear third here.
Really? Okay.
Like, well, basically the way I feel in general with these Virus aspects is, okay, like, Virus Beetle was very good for a lot of contextual reasons.
Sure.
Like
ninjutsu.
Like ninjutsu was very important. The fact that it was an artifact was very important, and like you'd play it, get your value, and the artifact mattered later.
Yeah.
And actually, Skullcap Snail isn't actually so good on those metrics.
Yeah.
Like if you ask, like, okay, what contextual things matter in the set? It's like, well,
I mean, it exiles, so they don't get to send.
Okay, sure.
There's a bunch of sacrifice stuff. You know, you can craft it with anything that crafts with creature. Like you can craft it to your Tithing Blade.
I mean, it's obviously not an awful card.
Sure. Yeah.
But just like it's not like it's proccing all this stuff for free for you like Virus Beetle did. I don't really see a ton of ways to abuse it. It's good with the Raised Dead, but like okay, so is everything. I don't know. It doesn't seem bad to me. It's a fine card, but overall I don't love it that much. So I rank them Poison Dart Frog, Bracket Splendor, Skullclap Snail. But look, if you end up being right, Brackish Blunder outplaces the Poison Dart Frog, I can see it.
Poison Dart Frog also has the same feel to me of like, this card was underperforming and they pushed it, they made it a little stronger.
And what do you think that implies?
I think that implies that it's not as, like, things about it. Yeah, like, it's a 1/1. Yeah.
It is a 1/1. I don't think there's a ton of deal 1 punishment in this
There's
set.
actually almost none.
Yeah, I don't think that's important.
I mean, it being a lot, you know. Like,
but, like, I'm not worried. When my Poison Dart Frog blocks, the thing it's blocking is not going to survive the experience.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. Okay, so now we reach section 2 of... Oh, wait, no.
No.
Sorry, I forgot!
you made a... So, as everyone knows, the System Magic stream, there's 2 halves of the stream. There's the strategy and nonsense half. Most of Greg's slides were very strategy-focused. This is a very nonsense-focused slide. So, when you give your answer, keep in mind that it should be nonsense-forward. But anyway...
Yeah, would you say you're on Team Saheeli or Team Wally? I guess you started last time.
You can start.
Baby, give me Saheeli here.
Oh, come on.
I think Wally's pretty sweet, but come on, if Fable of the Mirror Breaker has taught us anything, it's the Reflections of Kiki-Jiki in 2023 is really fucked up, and I think Saheeli's gonna do... Wait, Saheeli looks awful? Are you kidding me? I think Saheeli's very strong. I think Wally's a little clunky.
Greg, it's Civic Wayfinder.
Yeah.
And then it makes 2 3/3s.
It's Kiki-Jiki. It makes 2 3/3s, but it trades itself a 2/3 for
That's true.
So it makes 1 3.
But no. Well, I would say it makes 2 3/3s, and then you also eventually get more Val.
Yeah.
Like I would say, like imagine you're trading with 2/3 body for like eventual Val.
Yeah.
You get 2 3/3s, you get a land out of it. Like I don't know. I just think Koali seems like it'll be a lot of cards.
Yeah.
Like here's what I'm imagining. Right. I'm imagining I'm playing limited.
Yeah.
My opponent casts Swatley. They find a land. Then They play a land, play a 4-drop, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's my turn, I'm like, sigh. I really need to kill this Squally.
Yeah.
Then I kill it, and then I'm like, wow, I just got 3-for-1s.
Yeah.
That's what I'm imagining the experience is. With Saheeli, like, I don't know, sometimes you won't even have a thing that's that great to copy. Like, you know, like, what if you just don't have a thing with a great ATB? Or, like, your TB thing is making a map every turn. It's like, yeah, I can pay 2 to make a map and hit them for 2. It's fine. Like, what are you gonna do with it? I don't know.
I just feel like these effects always overperform. Like,
but it costs 2.
I know it costs 2.
Like, 2 is a lot.
Yeah.
Like, it costs its own mana cost. Again, every time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just think Quality's has so little V and does so much for me.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem very competitive to me. And, again, like, I understand that, like, okay, this is a 4-mode saga, so, like, yeah, like, it takes a while to reach later modes.
Yeah.
But, okay, the 3rd mode basically says something, draw a card.
Yeah.
And the 4th mode says they probably die now.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, like, I get that...
They probably die no?
Yeah, they probably die now. Like, I get that it takes a while. I get that you play this thing, you find land, and then eventually you flip this thing, and then, like, 4 turns later they die. But, okay, this thing is a 3-mana 2/3 that finds a land and eventually says you win the game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Wally seems completely fucked to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think Wally seems fucked. I'm... Give me Saheeli.
All right. You heard her first, give Greg Saheeli.
I'm honored to have picked Saheeli here. I think Saheeli is going to be incredibly strong.
Chat brings an important point. You can copy Croxo with Saheeli.
That's true. But you can copy it with Reflections too, so... Okay, now here's the second part of our stream, which is that now we're just going to be discussing over-under certain numbers of data game in hand win percent. And to get all these numbers, basically what I did is I found a similar card in a recent set that feels the same niche, and I used its exact win rate. You can't see because it's hiding behind us, but it's also at the top of the screen. So for example, in Wilds of Eldraine, Curse of the Werefox had a 55.2% game in hand win rate. Here's Squatley's Final Strike. It's kinda like Curse of the Werefox. It's better in some ways, it's worse in some ways. The set's obviously different. What do we think? Do we think Squatley's Final Strike is gonna overperform or underperform Curse of the Werefox?
Yeah, okay, I think easy over.
You think easy over because it's an instant?
I played with Ambuscade, okay? I was around for Ambuscade. And I just think that, well, first of all, okay, we need to start with the fact that bites are much better than fights.
Yep.
Greg, as you're probably aware, bites are much better than fights.
I'm aware.
As a secondary fact, Ambuscade, I think, surprisingly often was able to swing 2 combats.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen, like, you know, every game or anything, but kind of the way I feel is, like, what if this was myself for you? I was like, okay, this is like a solid removal spell. right? And like 1 in 5 times, you 2-for-1 your opponent and usually end the game immediately.
Yeah.
Like, when you get to do the thing where you pump a creature to win a combat and kill another creature, it's so savage, and it doesn't require that much. Like, it really doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, to be your super push, it's like, Ambuscade was printed before, years ago, and there's been a lot of power creep since then.
Yeah.
But Ambuscade is very good. Also, yeah, it is not lost on me that the frog does work with Watley's Final Strike.
That's a good point.
Which is another green common that I really like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I imagine Watley's Final Strike is going to be quite good in this format. I'm not putting it in every green deck that I ever draft, which was not the case with Square Fox.
That's true.
That was a solid playable. I'm not saying it's all the time, but I've cut that card from green decks. I do not think I'll be cutting Watley's Final Strike from any green deck that I draft.
Yeah.
Is basically the way I say.
I also picked the over. I mean, the monster roll was nice, being able to bargain, getting the permanent bonus. Those are all some nice things. But yeah, I think maybe this one was too obvious. But
I sort of think you should have gone all the way to Ambuscade.
Oh yeah, okay, that was too far back for me to figure out.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
There also, I guess we might have data that far back actually.
What set was that?
Yeah, that was like hour to take. We definitely need data. Never mind.
Okay,
Yeah. Sorry. I forgot that we only had arena data.
And I wanted to compare to recent cards, so people remember the experience. Anyway, let's talk about the next one. So here's Acrobatic Leap. It's very similar to Leaping Ambush. Leaping Ambush gave Reach. Obviously, flying is better than Reach. But also, this is pretty clearly a defensive trick. Yeah. And so, on a trick that has defense in mind, flying and Reach aren't that different.
This one I struggled with, I gotta say.
Yeah, I picked the under on this.
Okay. Do you want to give me the sell?
Yeah, I mean, a thing that I couldn't stop thinking about is that, I feel like in white aggressive decks, there's some discover stuff going on, and discovering into combat tricks is so sad and awkward.
That's true.
That caused me to, I feel like combat tricks are just gonna, and, it's not a permanent. There's so many stuff that cares, there's so much stuff in the set that cares about having permanence in your bin that just, you will and white, you want artifacts too. You'll probably want to keep your actual spell instant sorcery count quite low, and I feel like true. Acrobatic Leap won't make the cut because of that. And sure, sometimes you're just gonna draw this and win the game. Give a thing flying, hit him for lethal. That's gonna happen, which never happened with Leaping Ambush. But I am not a believer in Acrobatic Leap. 54.9 seems like a pretty decent common to me, and I think that this is gonna be something you're Leaping Ambush, I would play one in my green decks and not be that sad. I predict I will be sad to put Acrobatic Leap into any white deck.
Okay, I see your point, and you might be right. I'm not too sure. What I was thinking was twofold. Well, first of all, I like White Lava Axe. Yeah. I mean, I understand you talked about it a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I care about the fact that for 1 mana I can deal my opponent 5.
Sure.
Which isn't an option in Leaping Ambush. I basically think Leaping Ambush is never of interest to an aggressive deck, and Acrobatic Leap might be.
Sure.
But it especially might be of interest to a deck that's sometimes attacking, sometimes defending.
Yeah.
Which I think is actually the space some of the white decks are playing in.
Yeah.
That 4 mana 3/2 that makes a 1/1 the flyer.
Yeah.
I think this sort of effect plays really nicely with that card, because
I agree.
You're hitting him in the sky, you're jumping on the ground, you're in a tight race, and then suddenly you Acrobatic Leap, fly something, kill them. Seems like it fits right in. You're definitely right about the permanent anti-synergies for sure. I just wonder, I basically think there are competing effects, and it's not so clear to me which one will be stronger. I did say over.
Okay.
But cool. I'm really uncertain about it.
Yeah.
I thought this was one of the, I think this was maybe the toughest question on the thing, actually.
Interesting. Okay.
Maybe it was maybe it was the Poison Dart Frog question, but I think maybe it was this.
I guess the 5-drop question.
Yeah.
I stand by the 5-drop question being hard.
But I took the over. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm right, but all I can tell you is Max has killed a lot of people while we were playing Team Seal with Mighty Leap.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's many more than you'd anticipate.
Okay, our next one. These are kind of different cards, but they somewhat exist in the same space. We have Sift, draw 4, discard 1, versus Into the Fey Court from Well Drain, which had a 57.5 win rate. What do you think?
Okay, I took the under.
Okay.
And I basically just took the under because, I think 57.5 is actually very high.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Was quite good in Wild Drain Limited.
Yeah.
I felt like over the course of the format, I basically went up and up and up on it and never stopped. And I think it's just mostly, I don't know, this is an effect the Blue Red Spells deck was very, very interested in.
Yeah.
Played pretty nicely with the Fairies deck, making a Fairy obviously pretty relevant there. Less clear to me the blue decks will play out in that way here, also there's the same crafting going on this slide as you mentioned the last slide, where like blue decks might not want this because it's not an artifact, you can't craft it, etc. I mean, like, for example, you just play the Mill Rock, eventually goes a 6/6. Like, is that card better than Central Remembrance? I think it might be.
Oh, definitely. I think so. I think easy.
So, like, I don't know. It's not really clear to me that I'm going to be putting this in a lot of decks. Obviously, in Sealed, I might play it, you know.
Sure.
But yeah, I think pretty clear under for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think this card is pretty unimpressive.
Yeah, I think this slide was one of our easier ones.
And nice. So you gotta have some easy ones. Okay, here's another one. We had Crystal Grotto in Weldrain, which I was pretty surprised to see 55.4 as it's.
Well, I knew it was overperforming historical Shimmering Grotto effects.
Yeah.
I don't think I was quite aware of how much it was overperforming them.
Sure.
But yeah.
So here we lose the Scry 1. We gain this plus one counter ability, and of course it's a cave. And there is some cave matter stuff.
Yeah.
I took the under. Friends don't let friends play Shimmering Grottos.
Wait, okay, but you're comparing Shimmering Grottos. You can't use that.
Oh, I understand, but I think Crystal Grotto overperformed, and therefore I want to bet against a new Crystal Grotto.
Okay.
And mostly, I ended up liking Crystal Grotto. One of the main reasons was because there were so many off-color adventures. And it was really nice to have an extra way to, like, play your random off-color adventures. Like,
wait, real quickly, Sam, you are correct. 55.4 is close to a random card.
Okay.
That is close to the baseline, yes.
Okay,
I don't know the exact baseline off the top of my head, but yes, this is pretty close to the average how many lands were made for the average deck.
Yeah. Cool. That's good to know. Anyway, and as I said, I am not a strong... Like, I think splashing in the set is going to be less common. It just, as I looked at the set, it didn't feel like we're going to be splashing a ton. I mean, I guess it seems like a slow set. Maybe that encourages splashing, but I think this is an easy under for me.
Oh, I think it's easy under too.
Okay.
I basically think that, basically when you play these cards, the trade-off you're making in general is that you're playing off-curve.
Sure.
And when you're playing off-curve, you know what you don't need? A fucking mana sink.
Yeah.
What you need is a scry one to, like, smooth out your draw, help you find a color you might be missing. Like, I don't know. I just think it's like... I'm already slowing myself down by playing off curve. I then don't need to be like, okay, how am I going to spend my mana? It's like, what do you mean? Spending my mana, I've always spent my mana at a bad rate for this splash. Like, it's kind of like not what I need. Whereas like smoothing my draws and it just like is much more appealing.
And like, what if you sack this and then you draw your splash card? Like, that's a disaster.
Yes. That I thought too is like what do you do if because this is like not an unreal scenario. Like your opponent's at 20. You have a 2/2 in play that you're playing to attack with.
Yeah.
Like, you have a Captivating Cave, and also, by the way, you're missing your splash, and you have 3 cards of that splash. You're just gonna sack it?
Yeah.
I mean, you could, but, like, seems like the game will go long. They're at 20. Like, to be clear, I'm not even trying to say you won't sack in this spot. I think often you will.
Yeah.
But it's like, you'll sack it, then you'll draw the red burn spell and be sad. In some sense, like, the sack's value is reduced because it's helping you splash, and it's specifically kind of bad at that because you sack it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
yeah. I do want to say though that I think a lot of the caves read like they suck, and if there's a caves deck, you're gonna have to play some caves. So
that's true. Yeah, like you're saying that like basically you're selling your stock on Captain Cave, but you're opening the idea that if we think 5-color cave starts to look really legit, this card might creep back up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty reasonable take. Caves of Coleo's great cave. Top tier cave.
This is Runaway. So 50.7 is really fucking low.
It's quite bad, yeah.
Okay, but that was Urn of Godfire's win rate, which this card certainly has some similarities. Obviously, this one cycles, where Urn of Godfire helps fix your mana. I think it's an easy... I took the over here, I think. Mostly because I was taking a lot of unders, and, you can cycle this. I think cycle is better than Mana Fix, maybe, and the fact that triggers Descend is kind of nice. But I certainly don't think this is that good of a card. It's very clunky.
Yeah, so I struggle with this one, and the reason I struggled is basically this. So, like, I kind of liked Urn of Godfire and Mom.
Sure.
And I'm struggling to, like, the way I felt about this question is, I don't know, this is going to sound weird. I like Urn of the Godfire more than the data does. I don't know how to reconcile that with this question.
Sure.
But I definitely did. Like, I felt like Urn of Godfire was sometimes a workhorse for my weird splashes and weird many color decks.
Yeah.
And the fact that it would fix my mana for a while, that eventually I would kill a thing, was nice. I occasionally killed enchantments to great effect. I know that's a weird thing to say, but it did come up for me several times. Some of the rares it really killed. So, like, the way I feel on this question is like, I basically did not answer because I felt that it is my opinion that I will think Runaway Boulder is worse than Earn.
Sure.
But I'm not sure if the data will think that.
Yeah.
So basically, I took under in protest of the fact that I think Earn's underrated by the data.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to do with that. I think that like Boulder might be better than 50.7 because that's just obscenely low. The floor effect exists. But like, I'm pretty sure I'll think Earn is better. So therefore I took under. There you go. That's my protest vote.
Yeah, great protest vote. Also, Zach, there is no Emery, but to be clear, Emery is not the bonus set card that Earn was the best with. That honor goes to Luris of the Dream Death.
It sure fucking does.
Anyway, let's talk about Petrify. So yeah, I guess, is 57.4 very high?
No, it's somewhat.
Okay, so anyway, Planar Disruption. We've seen the set in a few sets. I chose Planar Disruption from All Will Be One, which was 57.4. And Petrify is basically, I thought they were slightly different, and then I was like, oops, they're just literally the same card. Missing the word Planeswalker, which there's only one Planeswalker in the set.
Yes, sorry, 1 second. To be clear, yes, the point of Boulder is definitely to send craft.
Yes.
I acknowledge this. I don't know how good a card that makes it.
Sure.
So 2 is a lot to cycle. Like, when was the last time a card was cycling 2 was, like, just great limit? I don't know. Like, I guess maybe the 6-drop, Alabaster Host?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Alabaster Host, yeah.
I just worry that I don't like cycling things with 2 that much. Obviously, I do it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think that, I assume you took the under here.
Yes, I believe I did.
Okay, I took the under. I mean, I think that this set looks particularly bad for Petrify, I think.
Well,
there's a sacrifice.
They all do, is the weird part.
There's a sacrifice set, there's all this crafting going on, and pacifisms have been getting worse and worse and worse as time has gone on, and and Sam's right with his comment in the chat.
Yes.
That Planar Disruption overperformed because of how aggressive that set was.
Okay, but like, I want to point out that like the Planar Disruption didn't also have some passive and punishes as well.
Probably every set does now.
Like I don't. So like basically, I'm not really sure the question is actually about craft or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that secretly this is kind of a referendum on white as a color.
Okay.
And white in 1 was like just fucking goated.
Yeah.
And very aggressive, where this effect is it's kind of at its best.
Sure.
To be clear, the reason I think it's best in the aggressive deck is because like you play this thing and at some point they'll probably get value out of it.
Yeah.
But like if they're dead by then, who cares?
Yeah.
And I just don't know the set will play out the same way with like a really strong aggressive white deck, etc. So in the end, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Maybe I should have compared to Realmbreaker's Grasp, but I was worried that we were going to take the clear over because Realmbreaker's. Maybe I should have picked something halfway in between.
I don't. Yeah. I believe the task of picking the comparable card is actually very hard.
Yeah.
So I give you plenty of credit, especially since I did no work.
Sure.
So, it's a classic System Magic stream where Greg did some work beforehand and I did nothing.
To be clear, Andrew offered to do work and I was having too much fun making this and I just declined. I was like, I got it.
It's fine. I spent the day testing Pioneer.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so Stone Retrieval Unit in Brothers War was the artifact that makes a relevant artifact token, and we've got another one of those. We've got Cartographer's Companion. It's 3 mana 2/1 that makes a map.
Yeah, this one I found sort of difficult, mostly for similar reasons to the Earn, which is that it's hard. I like Stone Retrieval Unit more than 51.1.
Yeah.
God damn.
I didn't like it that much, right? You think it's way better? It costs less mana. I am not a believer in Cartographer's Companion. I took the under here.
Okay, I took the over on the basis that, I don't know.
51%, yeah.
51% is just so low.
I mean, as I talked about at the top of the stream, I think Explore is overrated, and so...
Well, but it's not Explore. The point of Cartographer's Companion is that it's a map token.
Sure.
And I'm just imagining using that with craft. Like, okay.
Yeah.
This is all really hard because it's not good.
Yeah.
No one's like Cartographer's Companion.
I mean, sure, this synergized with Captain Storm, but this also synergized with the uncommon that said whenever you play an artifact, get a +1/+1 counter. That was just in Brothers War also.
Wait a minute. I want to make the actual. Let me sell you on Cartographer's Companion being over the incredibly high winner of 51%. Have you considered that Cartographer's Companion plays really nicely with that red thing that needs 2 artifacts?
That is true.
And guess what? There's not a lot of things that make 2 artifacts.
I mean, that's fair, but just Stoner... Like, this was more true in Brothers War.
Yeah.
Brothers War had more things that cared about artifacts than this set does. And the card on the right made 2 rectangle artifacts and was better. Now, okay, like this one costs 4, this one costs 3. If you use the map, you also need to invest 4 mana into the card on the left, where the card on the right kind of generates you mana off the Power Stone.
Well, yes, I mean, I think Storm Chilling is better than that number.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's weird. As I've often said, I'm kind of a moderate on the question of 17 land set and Magic in general, which is to say,
sure.
I think people who say it mean nothing are crazy, but I also think that it has some limitations and some issues.
Of course, and we've accepted all that in doing this exercise. You know?
But I think this underrates Stone Shield unit, but I'll still take the over.
Sure. Okay. Wait, where's the blue? Wait, we skipped this.
Oh, we skipped
it? How do we pass this?
Okay, that's weird.
Anyway, this is a disturbing conversion on the right from Mom. Each player mills 2, and then minus equals to their graveyard, where this counts permanence card in your graveyard and just mills you for 2. Oh, and I guess it doesn't have flash.
Yeah, this one I think is sort of interesting because, okay, neither of these cards is great. Let's start there.
Yep.
They're both obviously not below rate, not excellent cards. But I do like that Song of Duplication procs your Suspend, which is an advantage Supreme Conversion never had. Now, the question is kind of, does proccing your Descend, like, is that good enough to overcome not having flash and not counting all the cards in your graveyard? And I'm really not sure if it is.
Yeah. Also, that one counts their graveyard. This one counts your graveyard.
Sure.
Which I think counting your graveyard is better.
Yes, agree. I think so. This one I thought about for a bit. I thought it was pretty hard. I eventually decided to take the over.
Okay.
I eventually decided to say that I thought that the graveyard synergies in the blue archetype in this format would be enough that I would sometimes play this as an enabler that also does something on the board. I don't think I'm going to be taking it highly. I don't think it's going to be like, you know, a 57% win rate. Like, I don't think anything like that. But I think it might edge out to 53.5. I think we might see a 54, 55, something like that. An okay role player for my blue decks when I'm short on enablers for Descend. That's where I went.
Yeah, I said the same thing. Partially, I also had ended up taking a lot of unders and wanted to take an over somewhere. So
okay, I would like you to know that affects my decision 0.
Yeah, totally fine.
That sounds very unruthless.
Yeah, I know. But I believe in the Descend deck. I also have noticed that, like, we talked about this with the Bounce Spell, but blue seems a little interaction light in this set.
It does.
And so I'm kind of imagining worlds where you're a little starved for interaction, and you're going to be really happy to see this.
I also think it plays kind of nicely into some sort of flyers-related strategy. Like, you play this on 2, you play the flyer on 3, make some map token.
Play the white flyer, or the 5 mana. Like, it's really good with the blue 5 mana card, right? That draws a card and becomes a flyer if you have Descend 4.
Yes. Basically, I just think, in general, Disturbing Conversion just never had much. I understand there was the 8 or more graveyard theme, blah, blah, blah. But
yeah, it was kind of barely a theme.
I generally just think that, like, this meaningfully enables more in this set. And I think that's going to give it the edge, but it's hard to say.
Okay, and then our last one from, I believe, last one from this category is a little more awkward, but there are these 5 Discover Caves, and the question is, whichever one has the highest win rate.
Oh crap! I don't really remember what I put for this question. But
whichever one has the highest win rate, how does it compare to the one from All Will Be One that had the highest win rate, which was the red one at 54.3?
Oh wait, I think I remember what I said. Okay, I'm here.
I'm willing to start. I took the under.
Okay, wait. So let's kind of talk about what goes into this question.
Sure.
So to me, I think this question is secretly asking a different question.
Okay.
To me, what this question is basically asking is it's asking a question about sort of color difference.
Yeah.
Because, like, okay, kind of the cave that has the highest win rate is like the like how good is this land in the color that is the most good.
Yeah.
So, like, the further you think the cards are apart, the higher the highest case win rate is. And the closer you think colors together, the lowest the highest case win rate is to some extent.
Fair.
So this is the angle I came at this from. So when I think of one, I think of it as a set with drastic color differences.
Yeah.
I think of a set where there were basically colors that we eventually came to the conclusion you should never fucking play.
Sure.
And I'm betting in relation to the mean. I'm betting that in this set, the best cave will have a lower than 54% win rate because I bet that you'll just not, the difference won't be as large. Now, I think the biggest argument against what I'm saying is you can reject my framing.
Sure.
Which is very reasonable.
I somewhat reject your framing, and even if I agree with it, I think I want to talk about the differences between these two cards.
Totally fair.
Which I think is worth it. So one, being a cave is better than being a sphere. I think there wasn't that much sphere matters stuff, and there seems to be some cave matters stuff.
Definitely true.
People fucking love Cascade. I get it. Look, I get you're not going to draw a land. I get you get to cast your card for free. That's all nice. But you don't really get to cast it for free. You have to spend 3 more mana to activate this ability than you do to activate this ability, and you'll get to cast your card for free. If it happens to be a 4-drop, you benefit a mana.
Yeah, you're saying, like, what... Kind of the question you're asking is, like, what is the average mana cost of a Discovery 3 card? Or Discovery 4 card? And maybe the answer is, like, 3?
It's probably, like, 2.5?
2.5?
2.6? Something like that. And like, okay, tapping 6 lands to do the thing is much worse than tapping 3 lands to do the thing over here. And, I think the number one most important fact is sorcery versus instant. Like...
Well, not when you cast right away is not a problem, Sam. You can put it in your hand. But, yeah.
Yeah, but I think the fact that, like, you can leave up all your mana in all... I mean, this doesn't happen that much because it's an aggressive format, but you can, like, leave up your... Oh, aside from casting the card you drew, that's true. But, like, I don't... I think the big part for me is to be able to leave up all your mana, leave up a thing. If you don't need to cast your thing, you just cash in your sphere. And I think that was a pretty common play pattern with the spheres. Maybe that's more of a sealed thing, but I'm not a big believer in this tap 6 of my lands to discover 4 thing. I get that you don't want to do it that often, but, like, I'm worried these cards won't be playable outside of the cave stack.
I don't think that will happen.
Okay.
The cost of mitigating flooding for a single play tap land is pretty nice.
Okay, you're right.
You'll
Maybe
flood.
I'm too low on... I just think the world sees Discover, and they're like, Cascade is a fucked up mechanic. These cards must be insane. They have Cascade on them. And I think people are going to be disappointed by these caves.
Yeah, I don't know. I get what you're saying, and I don't think it's crazy. But I just think in general, I'm going to play the first cave or two just every time always.
Yeah,
that's kind of my take. But anyways, we're still in agreement overall on this question. Which is that we're taking the under, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yes, I focused more on the weird part of it being the highest one than you did.
Yeah, I was just trying to not have to pick one, you know?
You could have said the average one.
Yeah, whatever.
It would have changed my answer substantially.
Okay, so now we get to the end part. I'm not going to pull up all the cards. I think we can just talk about them.
Yeah, it's. I also thought this was. I was surprised how hard I thought this was. Actually.
Yeah, I think I went a little fast on this.
Okay, well, don't worry. I'm not very confident in most of my answers.
Sure. But yeah, we've spent a lot of time talking about some shitty cards. Now let's talk about the good ones.
Okay. So like, what should we do visually during this?
Maybe we should just pull this.
What if we just pull up the Scryfall?
Yeah.
Just
go do it.
I get that that's like you can just click your own link.
I think I'll have to exit the. Oh yeah, okay. Nice.
It's an easy solution to your problem.
Nice. Okay. Here are the white commons.
Great. So. Was Tinker's Tote?
Wow.
I don't know who said that. I would like to sell stock in Tinker's Tote. I don't think it's Tinker's Tote.
I picked this card.
Very reasonable answer.
I picked the Cloud Guard. I mean, we've talked a lot about this card already.
It's great.
I think it's very strong.
It definitely might be that card.
It reminds me of Breeding Champion. I think it compares pretty favorably to it, and Breeding Champion was by far the best common in its set.
Well, let's be clear. I think it's worse than Breeding Champion.
Sure. Oh, I agree that it's worse, but I still think it compares favorably.
Yeah, it definitely might be that card. Okay, wait. I wanna discuss a few alternatives.
Yeah, totally fine.
So scroll up for a second. So the first card that I think is kind of interesting is, how do you feel about Glorifier of Suffering?
I like Glorifier of Suffering.
So I don't know if Glorifier of Suffering is the answer. I think it might be the Cloud Guard, but Glorifier of Suffering, like, kind of does a lot. It doesn't ask that much of you.
I believe in Glorifier of Suffering.
Like, it makes a 1/1... Like, not it makes 1/1. It abuses 1/1s, it abuses craft artifacts you're not using.
Yeah.
It's 3 mana for 5/4 in stats, which isn't that hard. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure it's the answer, but it seems to me that if you're trying to play some sort of white aggressive strategy, that card looks really good to me.
No, I'm a strong believer in Glorifier. I think I might have put that in second. I mean, I didn't. We didn't have to put a second. But this is a card I was considering for sure.
Okay. I answered Glorifier stuff.
Nice. Okay.
I don't know if it's right.
Yeah.
But that's the question down to me. It might be the Cloud Guard, certainly, but I went with a cheaper, more aggressive option.
Yeah.
Mostly I was thinking that, okay, not every white deck is white-blue. Not every deck is doing the Sky's artifact plan.
Yeah, but like a 1/1's a 1/1, you know?
Well, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
Remember Basri's Acolyte, how strong that card was? Like,
yeah.
This card, if you squint, is kind of Basri's Acolyte.
Yeah. I definitely might be wrong. I would say white is hard because I think the cards are all kind of close.
Yeah, I also considered this, the Iron Shell Beetle card.
I'm skeptical of that.
Okay.
I think that card's fine, but
sure.
I don't think it's the best white common.
Yeah.
Okay,
nice. So I answered Cloud Guard, you answered this.
Wait, scroll up a little bit. And we don't... Okay, we've definitely moved away from a world... I just want to talk about this very briefly.
Sure.
I think we've definitely moved away from the world where cards of the form Gideon's Reproach or Pacifism are the best white commons.
Yeah.
I kind of don't remember the last time that was true. Removal's not that important anymore.
Yeah.
I think I dismissed those pretty quickly. And yeah... I guess I think those were kind of the only real considerations.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really know what else to consider too. Like,
yeah,
Tinker's Toad is certainly an interesting take.
That seems maniacal to me. I don't know.
And I mean, certainly, I thought about Petrify for a minute, but oh god, I don't think it's Petrify. Like,
I don't know. Yeah, you need to actually kill things that aren't attacking or blocking these days.
Okay.
God, the real problem is that I've forgotten some of my answers since I did this. But anyway,
that's rough.
It's fine. What the heck did I say for blue?
I mean, okay, notably, I picked the Cloud Guard for the last one, but if you remember back to the Cloud Guard versus Waterwind Scout question,
that's what I said.
Scout over Cloud Guard, and so it might not be surprising to know that I picked Scout here.
Yeah, great answer. I think that's what I said.
Yeah, I love Scout.
I actually recall doing this, and I was kind of I don't know. I don't even think necessarily Scout is that busted, but it's what else are you picking?
What do you think about this out of air card?
I think that if it costs 3, we'd have a different conversation.
Sure, it costs 3 and costs 1 less if it targets...
No, I'm saying if it costs 3 blue... The problem with this card is that when you cast on turn 2, it costs blue.
Yeah.
And, in limited, color on 2 is so hard. The way I feel is that Essence Scatter in limited is often a great common.
Yeah.
Fits really nice in control decks. Even aggressive decks can play it. Everything's nice. As soon as it's blue in limited, I'm like, look, man, I'm playing a 9/8 mana base. I can't cast color cards on 2 consistently.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll be able to do it at some point. Might be able to double spell or arrange a nice turn, but I'm just not a believer for that reason. Basically, straight up.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's an awful card. I just don't think it's common. Now, what about the bounce spell?
I do love the bounce spell.
I think there's a chance the bounce spell's the answer. I thought about answering it, in fact.
Yeah.
I did say that the 2-drop flyer that makes them out, but kind of my comparison is, okay, let me, for a moment, live in the world where you always make a map Brackish Blunder. I understand that's a small overstatement.
Sure.
Alright, so if you compare a 2/2 flyer and a bounce spell, I agree that the 2/2 flyer is better.
Yeah.
But its bounce spell is also a mana cheaper.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of, which do you prefer, a 2/2 flyer or a bounce spell and a treasure? I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe making a treasure instead of is disingenuous. Sure. I don't know. But that's kind of my thought. Anyway, I went with the flyer, but I definitely think it could be Brackish Blunder.
Yeah. Great question about today's candle sponsor. We've got a lovely mint scented candle from the Scented Candle brand of scented candles, which is when I asked my mom to give me some scented candles, and she clearly just Googled scented candles and got me the first one. But anyway, the mint one is pretty nice. Is Cave Worm good or garbage? Cave Worm looks pretty bad to me.
I mean, I think a 4-mana 2/5 with no abilities is a card you might play occasionally.
Yeah.
Also, Field Cave Worm is that card. Moving on.
Sometimes it might become a 4/5.
I mean, I just basically think Descent 4 is a lot. I think we turned on.
Okay, I believe in Descent. I talked about this with the Golgari Uncommon. Descend seems to be the main mechanic in the set. I believe in your ability to get it on.
4 is a lot. I don't know, maybe.
Just most Descend things are Descend 4, right? It's the most
Yeah.
common. Yeah. Also, I kind of like this. I want to start higher on Oaken Siren than I might have been. It has a lot of words on it for 2 mana.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that we actually saw this effect, or a similar effect, be strong in Mom.
Yeah.
And it's sort of the first time, but I don't know. This one also like attacks for 1, has Vidge. You can attack and spend the mana. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think Oaken Siren is crazy at all.
I definitely don't think it'll be the best.
Oh no, we're not gonna first pick it, but I think it's fine to bring up.
Okay, this one's easy, right?
What did you say?
I said Abrade.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, I mean, I almost wanted to make the question like second best red common. Like, I mean, Abrade just seems so. I can't believe it's a common. Like, I was actually debating between Abrade and the red 1-drop that deals 2, or the power of a dinosaur, and then I was like, wait, that one's an uncommon.
Yeah, I assume we all said Abrade. It's Abrade.
My guess is this will be the most consensus answer in the whole quiz.
Well,
I don't
the
even.
problem is like what is the second best red common?
Yeah, I legitimately have no idea.
Like Rumbling Rocks, the 2-drop artifact.
Oh, I want to talk about a card which I don't think is that. I love this card, Hotfoot Gnome. 3 mana, 3/1 haste that taps to give another creature haste.
Interesting.
I remember in the set with Fortell, whatever that set was.
Yes.
There's just 3 mana, 3/2 haste, and I loved that card in that set. I thought it was so good to just like start being aggressive, like.
Yeah, and you think one toughness punishes are rare in this format?
I think one toughness punishes are rare, and I think the activated ability is pretty real.
Yeah, I mean there are some 1/1 artifact tokens because I think
I understand, yeah.
But yeah, I don't.
But like,
often,
I mostly this will be getting into combat the first turn it came into play, and like, okay, if they play Tinker Toad on 3, and then you have this on 3, okay, that's really sad. But like, oh, I also like somewhat believe in 3 mana 3/2 make a treasure. I think it's a lot better than 3 mana 2/3 make a treasure.
Yeah.
From the last set, and like treasures seem like they matter more. There's all this artifact matters, like.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, though, it's actually.
Yeah.
Because that said also the 2 mana 2/2 that just had that text, have to give something haste.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, I was thinking, I thought when you started say, Kaldheim, I thought you were going to bring up the other Kaldheim.
No. Which, yeah.
So,
well, yeah.
But it is very funny.
Yeah.
But yes, I do think Hot Form is good.
And part of the reason I like that card, by the way, so much was Run Amok, which, like, there's kind of uncommon Run Amok in this set, but
that's a big difference, but... Yeah, what I was going to say is there any chance the second best red common is literally just the red artifact 2-drop? Not a joke?
Oh, I think definitely.
I think Volatile Wanderglyph might be the second best red common.
I agree.
Just like, it seems like there's a lot of, like, Red really cares about this. Artifact Aggro is one of the red archetypes, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that card's just pretty nice. Yeah, that's, I think, my guess that's the second one. But obviously the best one's a Raid. It's just a Raid.
Yep. Oh wait, did we skip Black? We did skip Black.
Oh yeah, this one I thought was I mean I think it's interesting actually.
Okay, yeah, I think it's interesting too. I like my answer. I feel good about my answer.
Okay, you can get your answer.
I answered Deadweight.
Okay, do you want to explain why you picked it over? Basically, I think it's between the two kill spells.
Yeah, and the
I understand it's a boring answer. I understand that Magic has moved on from kill spell is best. I acknowledge all this up front. Okay, Deadweight and Join the Dead are still, those are real fucking rates, okay?
Absolutely.
If you want to give me 3 mana -5/5 that eventually has upside, or you want to give me fucking Deadweight, okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, basically, look, like, in Throne of Eldraine, the best common was the 1 mana deal 2. In All Will Be One, the best common was the 1 mana deal 2. Both of those had the ability to scale. This kind of scales. You can put it on a big thing, and it's still awkward. It's also a permanent to go to your graveyard for Descend. And I think that all of that is going to make it quite good. And I think that as removal has gotten worse, cheap removal, as just like, removal has gotten better, but Magic has evolved in a way to make removal a little worse. And therefore, I think you really want your removal to be cheap. And I think the last few sets have shown us that 1 mana removal is really, really good in 2023, and I think Deadweight will continue the pattern.
Yeah, I also said Deadweight. I felt very unsure about it. You seem more confident than I felt about it. I feel that, like...
I think this was one of the most... next to a Braid, this is one of the most confident answers I gave on, like, the whole quiz.
Okay,
I'm a strong believer in Deadweight.
I don't know. I do love that it's a permanent, and I do love that, like, Black's thing is you're playing this Descend long game, that plays really into that. I get all that. It's nice that if you mill over it with, like, double raise that or something, which, I keep mentioning mostly because it looks important to the Black archetype to me.
Yeah.
But...
And that's this card, is what we're talking about.
Yes, another chance. Yep. Yes. Another chance, I think, looks important to me in the Black archetype. I like that if you randomly mill over Deadweight, it still procs your Descend if you explore it. Etc. Like, I get all that. So I picked Deadweight for that reason, but I don't know. Joy the Dead it's a really good rate. Like, I remember Ob Nixilis's whatever, the 3-mana kill spell from War of the Spark.
Yeah.
Which was 3 mana -5/-5 with no additional, well, and exile,
yeah.
but very little additional upside, was very strong. It was single pipped.
Sure.
Like, I get that card's maybe better than Joy the Dead, but like they're pretty close, and that card was the best common in its set, and that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. I remember that card being a little worse than people thought, but incredible. Like, still good.
Yeah, so in general, I think Joy the Dead is likely to be quite strong, and when I play Black in this format, what I'm looking at now, I've never drafted set, but what I'm imagining is playing this grindy deck with, like, Primordial Lar at the top of my curve, bunch removal, the Raised Dead, and, like, really, really grinding them out, and...
I'm not too worried about that, Ben Whites.
And just, like, in that archetype, it seems like I might want the bigger removal spell.
Yeah.
But then I was like, yeah, but are the black low drops that good? And, like, I wanted to send and all this stuff. Anyway, I picked Deadweight.
Yeah.
But a part of it was definitely the same thing you said, which I do think is important to bring up, which is, okay, people don't remember this, but it's really important. You can just, like, put Deadweight on their big creature.
Yeah.
And you do sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes your opponent has a 5/5, you put Deadweight on it, and you ignore the 3/3 for a long time. Like, that isn't the most common use case. Usually you kill the thing, but sometimes you do that, and honestly, it's a really nice option to have.
Yeah. I think Black has a lot of bangers. Like, I like this, like, if this 2/2 can gain +1/+1 on lifelink, it seems really strong. Fanatical Offering seems really strong to me.
Yeah, I know some people mentioned Fanatical Offering in the chat. Okay, I think that claiming Fanatical Offering will be better than the kill spells. It sounds pretty extreme to me.
Yeah.
Just like, I get it, like, okay, but remember Deadly Dispute? Let's just, like, discuss Deadly Dispute for a second, right? Deadly Dispute was good in its limited format, but also not, like, busted. And Deadly Dispute is much stronger than Fanatical Offering.
Definitely.
Like, Deadly Dispute is, like, a lot better. And so, like, I just have trouble believing this, like, would be the blessed common. Obviously, it's good.
Yeah.
You know, it's totally reasonable playable, you know, does some nice stuff. I get it. We're making Alpers read good these days.
Yeah. Which is nice. And, like, I mean, the snail's nice. I like the draw. I'm excited to use Ichor Wellspring.
You think Fanatical Offering is stronger and limited? Really?
Wow.
Treasures are so good. Wait, I don't think I believe that.
I don't agree that maps... Well, okay, you've played with them and we haven't, so...
Yeah, like, acknowledging the information asymmetry and that, like, an outside observer might bet on Ben White's claim because he actually has played the set.
Yeah.
The way I feel is... Magic is... like, even limited is so much faster these days, and mana matters so much.
Yeah.
And getting to do more stuff is so much more important than having more cards. I don't know. The way I feel is just like, if the algorithm of always give me the one that will generate more mana is increasingly legitimate in all formats.
Yeah.
I acknowledge that it's less true in limited, but I think it's still true.
And as I've said a couple times now, I am an Explorer skeptic.
Yeah, Greg hates
and Maps Explorer. I just do kind of hate Explorer. Anyway, on to green. Did you pick your best friend Poison Dart Frog?
I didn't, but I really thought about it.
Okay. Did you pick Koali's Final Strike?
I picked Ambuscade.
Okay,
yeah.
I also picked Ambuscade.
I don't know. It definitely... I really like Poison Dart Frog. I think there's a chance it ends up being Poison Dart Frog, honestly. Yeah. But I don't know. I just felt like Koali's Final Strike it's so good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, maybe this in Powercraft is going to be worse than I remember. That is possible, but
yeah,
it just sounds really nice to me. I mean, it's an instant. You can blow them out in combat. There's lots of things to do with it. I get that occasionally they can get you, but, like, usually you can avoid that.
Yeah, and you just, if they're tapped out, you can just play it on your turn. Like, this is a thing that you often want to play whenever they're tapped out, which is why it's good that it's an instant, you know.
Well, but also that plays right into I attack, they block, then I get them.
Yeah.
That's perfect when they're tapped out. Like, right. And yeah, it's just really nice. I think it's going to be good. And even the kind of fail case where you aren't getting any of them, you're just like, okay, my attacker kills your blocker, hit you for X+1. Honestly, pretty decent. Or like sometimes their blocks are a little awkward because it has +1 power.
Yeah.
Like the +1 power is really nice. Is basically what I can tell you about this card.
Yeah.
I just believe in it. I do think Poison Dart Frog is up there. Like, I think it's my number 2.
Yeah, I mean, I like Poison Dart Frog less than you do, and I think it's still my number 2.
Okay.
Well, what do you think about this card, Disturbed Slumber? This effect has been quite bad historically, but I do think this is a pushed version of this effect.
Yeah.
The fact that you can use it on D, like, with reach and
then it must be blocked. You can sometimes use it on... You can kind of get them.
Yeah, I feel like that part of the card, they've done it a few times and it's never actually worked.
Yeah.
But this is, I think, the best version of this effect they've ever made.
I'm still really worried that I'm going to cast Disturbed Slumber and then they're going to, like, play a combat trick and my land's going to die.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Or they'll just, like, have a random 1/1. And you'll just, like, play it, attack, they'll chump with their 1/1. Like Like, it's kind of worse Edict in some ways, but... Yeah, I agree, Sam. We've had this card before. It's been unplayable. I think this version is... Well, I mean, it gives reach, and I think the other ones have made 3/3s where this makes a 4/4.
Well, I think the gist of this, that goes on, which I believe is correct, is I don't think we've had this exact card. It's more like we've had a lot of variants on this. They keep making them stronger, and Greg's kind of asking, is this the one that goes over the line to being playable? Yeah. And... I don't know. I'm not sure I buy it, but I can imagine it. Yeah. I think the other ones were sorceries. This one's an instant, which is why I'm thinking about defense. Well, I mean, Clark, wait a minute. Okay, ultimately the problem with all cards is the rate. Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know. If you, okay, what if I make the card cost -2 mana? But does it cost 0 and when you cast it you make 2 treasures? Okay, I bet it's playable now. Obviously that's an extreme example. What I'm trying to point out is at some level, if you add enough stuff to any card, you'll make it good. Yeah. I'm gonna take the over on the non-existent prop bet on Disturbed Slumber. Okay, I'm gonna take the under on the non-existent prop bet, but I agree that it's like, at some point this effect will be good enough. Yeah. 5/4 trample. Trample would be a cool thing for it to have, because then if they sack a shitty thing, you at least get some damage in. But I don't know. I like reach maybe more than trample on the instant. Anyway, okay, then the next question, there are 3 questions left on the prop bet sheet. One is, what will be the best common that is not the top common of its color? So either non-colored card or just the second best card. So what did you say? I said the murder. Okay, I did too. Okay, nice. It seemed pretty easy. Yeah. But Dead Weight and Murder are really close. Yeah. Is my opinion. And I don't know. I always worry. I always have this voice back in my mind that says, I don't know, removal's gotten worse these days. But I don't know. I'm just looking through the set. Nothing else really called to me. I don't know if that's a weird thing to say. It just sort of felt like, I don't know, the commons are at a little lower power level than recent sets. Not massively so, but Mom was a pretty high powered set, as an example. Sure. And I just, I think that in this set, some of the removal spells, like Quatly's Final Strike and Murder, are actually the strongest cards of the common. Maybe I'll be eating those words in a month. Yeah, and it's an easy prediction to make because we don't actually know, and it's one of those things where cards like the White Sanctifier gonna end up being the best. Yes, but I definitely to be clear, I think we'll be enormously wrong on at least one of these predictions. Oh, definitely. I mean, this is part of the reason this is fun is you get to watch it back. Oh god, we're gonna be so wrong. So embarrassed. I would like chat to be aware that I'm doing this because I think it's fun, and I definitely like it as a unstabilized format. Because I don't know, normal set reviews are incredibly boring in my opinion. Yeah. But I don't know how good I am at this. It seems really difficult. Oh. And yeah, neither of us have ever done this before. So. And I expect us to be wrong about lots of shit. But anyways, that's fine. That's part of the fun. I don't think Tithing Blade is that good. No, I don't think... I think Tithing Blade is definitely not. Yeah. Okay, this is still limited. Edicts are kind of not great and limited generally. Yeah. Even though I think Tithing Blade, has some nice upside to it and, is reasonable, but... Okay, and then best color by average win rate of commons, I said black. I did too. Nice. I was kind of leading into it when we were talking about black. It just seemed like... Yeah, I had the same reaction you did. It just seemed like there were a lot of black commons at good rates. I thought the kill spells were good. I thought the creatures were good. I liked the game plan. I think the format's not going to be too fast for this sort of grinding plan to work. I think there's a lot to like about black. Real black believer. So and then our last question was just way we talked about almost no uncommons. There are a lot of uncommons, and they're all very complex because it's Magic these days. We didn't talk about them because... That would make our thing really long. Yeah, we were already over time. But it's fine. I know that we both said the same thing for best uncommon, which I don't... Yeah, I don't know if we're right. I'm so unconfident of this, but it just felt like it has to be the default answer, right? Well, the thing about this is... Necrotals are really fucked up. Yeah. And... I just feel like how can I be a Descend Disbeliever and still... Well... I'm a Descend Believer and wanted to not pick the Chupacabra. I was wondering about Bloodbraid. Certainly Bloodbraid is good. Yeah. Well, I don't even remember, what is it called? But the way I feel about Chups though is when I'm imagining these Black Deck's game plans with these 2 cheap uncommon, with these 2 good common removal spells. Here's Bloodbraid, yeah. And the other thing about Chupacabra is, this is a famous thing from, believe it or not, original Ixalan. Yeah. Which is... It's not the first Chupacabra that gets you. Yeah. That's the thing. I'm not going to cast the Ravenous Chupacabra, kill your guy, and then it's going to stop. I'm going to cast it, then I'm going to kill your guy, then I'm going to block and trade, then I'm going to raise dead my Chupacabra, then I'm going to cast it again, then I'm going to block your guy, then I'm going to raise dead my Chupacabra, and like, it gets really fucked up real fast. And by the way, as I'm doing this, the raise dead is milling me, so like, it might be the first one's a shock, but like, boy, the second one's not going to be a shock.
Yeah, I'm just worried about, I feel like one of the best things about Choops is when you can just go like 2-drop into 3-drop into Choops, kill their blocker, attack for a bunch. And this, you kind of can't do that. I mean, if your things trade, then you can, but like...
I will figure it out.
I wish I'd answered this card.
Certainly reasonable answer. Geologic Razor. Yeah, I mean, it's Bloodbraid Elf. I mean, it's fixed Bloodbraid Elf. It doesn't have haste, but like, I don't think, obviously it's a great card. I do worry that in Limited, like, there are certain classes of cards that playing a bunch of Discover kind of, disables you from playing.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know this is one of them. I also did consider just answering the frickin' gold card. I mean, I don't know what it means to answer a gold card in this sense, because, like, it's much more correlated with this particular archetype than another answer.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know if by answer, like, it's weird to answer Isaquinth because, like, again, green might be garbage,
right? And
I just don't know, and I don't believe I'm going to know until I play the set.
Sure.
But I really fucking like this card. I mean, I just think the raid is amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I said Chupacabra.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I think that was the end of our quiz. So hopefully a couple other people have taken it. We're going to post it on Twitter again. Hopefully we'll get some answers, and we'll be checking back in a month to see how we did. But more soon than that, on Thursday is the Early Access Streamer event, where we will be streaming in the afternoon on Thursday. We'll be doing the first ever publicly available Lost Caverns of Ixalan drafts, and we hope you will come and watch them with us at System Magic.
Maybe the second or third, let's be real. We don't get that early. Right.
Yeah, usually we start around 2, and the event starts at 1, so we'll be starting about an hour in.
Yeah, we'll be in the fifth one,
Yeah.
But anyways.
But it's an awesome event, as always. I absolutely love Early Access. It's one of my favorite things we get to do. And Thursday streams, people, like, don't always love to watch, and we know there are a lot of other people streaming, but we hope you'll consider coming to watch us at System Magic because we have a ton of fun. And you can see how wrong we've been with all of our takes. And we can, like, embarrass Andrew about, how he thought Glorifier Saint was even playable when it's like the worst card in the set,
Yeah, I don't know about that one. we can tell Wizards what a pleasure it is to do business with them.
Yes. Yes, I will be thanking Wizards, and Andrew will be telling them it's a pleasure to do business with them.
Anyways.
Well, also, I like this bat. Bat's nice.
I get why you like the bat. I sort of felt as I was going through the set that there weren't as many map tokens as I thought there would be.
Yeah, I suppose that's a good point.
The set's a bit map light, so like I don't know how much you're actually like living the dream with the bat.
Yeah, okay.
But obviously, like the card's fine as is. Like, you don't even need to do the thing.
Yeah. But anyway, that will take us to the end of our stream. This was a totally new thing that we've never done before. We had a lot of fun doing it. We hope you had a lot of fun doing it. We hope you had a lot of fun filling out our sheet. If this is something you like, let us know. We'll consider doing it again for the next stream.
Wait a minute. I can't relate this.
Yeah.
Yes. Please give us feedback on the stream format, as it's very experimental. If you give us feedback, you can tell me the feedback, and honesty is preferred to kindness.
If you tell me you should, like... Well, okay, the thing is I'm a huge optimist, so, like, sometimes people say mean things to me, and I just kind of, my brain does its warpiness thing, and I'm like, that wasn't that mean. It was fine. So you can be honest to me, just know that, like, I'm going to bias it through a filter of, I think everyone's nice all the time, But
yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Totally fine. Yeah, we really, really do appreciate honest, genuine feedback. And if you like it for the next set and want to propose some questions, you can propose some questions, because we would love to have viewer questions on things like this. And yeah, feel free to share it with your friends, with your favorite content creators. We'd love it if more people took our quiz. That would be pretty exciting. But yeah, I think this is one of our only streams where we just, like, haven't played any Magic, which feels kind of weird. I like playing Magic, but,
Oh, I think this is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But, so that's about going to do it for us.
Yeah. I don't know. Where do we want to go? We could go, like, here, maybe? Or, like...
Yeah, I mean, wherever you really think.
Here, or here, or...
Yeah, I don't have strong feelings.
Or here?
I might go with that, actually.
Okay, alright, let's go raid the Ham TV.
Yeah, we'll follow up some limited with some limited, We talked about Limited for a while. Now you can go watch some Limited. I think that works.
Much better than the average set review. Nice. I like the play along at home thing. I hope you enjoyed it. My goal for next time is to make it like look a little nicer, you know?
We were still working out the kinks, you know?
Still working out the kinks. We know opening the thing and the PowerPoint is a little clunky, but you know, that's what we did for this time. But anyway, we'll see you tomorrow with Sim Constructed. We will see you on Thursday at 2 p.m. for some early access. Thanks for tuning into this set review. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. And that's all for tonight. System Magic out.